Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Chapter 224, 1/to the throat. Sure. By the way, how do we open this hex gate now? The blonde Lily asked curiously. Didn't boss say we just need to open and close it one more time as a signal? Here. This one. DD turned around and pointed at a black lever behind him. Just pull this and it opens. None of the remote methods work. Even if someone with the highest designer level D permission came, it still wouldn't work. He said proudly. The blonde Lily gave DD a thumbs up. Nice. DD's tech skills are getting better and better. As DD pulled down the black lever, the energy device inside the bunker started to activate. The light blue hex gate once again took shape. Okay, mission complete, shut it down quickly. Just as the hex gate extended to 40 meters tall, DD pushed the lever back to its original position. The hex gate lost power and quickly collapsed and disappeared. Now the mission is officially complete. DD clapped his hands and smiled. The poker-faced guy nodded. The blonde Lily, however, looked a little puzzled. Come to think of it, why did boss suddenly change strategy? Weren't we supposed to hide in that batch of goods heading to Yurden and launch a sneak attack? Why did it suddenly turn into controlling Zun's hex gate and wiping out all the order people in Zun? Is boss trying to take over Zun and become king? Wouldn't that kind of go against our original intention? No idea. DD shook his head. No way. Boss isn't that kind of person. The poker-faced guy retorted. The blonde Lily stuck out her tongue again. But boss really is BDSS. I still don't know how he managed to convince the Piltover boss to work with us. Actually, it's not that hard to figure out. The poker-faced guy started explaining. Everyone knows the Order wants to take over Zun, to make Zun another of their controlled public stations. The native people of Zun have always been resisting. But in recent years, the Order's been getting stronger, and Zun's resistance has been getting weaker. Being annexed and ruled was just a matter of time. Especially with the emergence of the Hex Gate. On the surface, it looks like a mutually beneficial cooperation between both sides. But think deeper, the Order could easily send a huge force through the Hex Gate all at once and conquer Zun in a single blow. And our presence solves their problem perfectly. Our enemy is the Order. And since ancient times, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So working with us was inevitable. Exactly. If they hadn't given us the underlying D code, I would have needed at least 7.3 hours to completely crack it. And by then, it would have been too late for D. DD nodded in agreement with the poker-faced guy's explanation. The blonde Lily nodded as well. Yeah, seeing us and the Order tearing each other apart probably makes them thrilled. But I still don't get it, what exactly is boss aiming for with all this? Even if we control the Hex Gate and clean out the remnants of Order in Zun, the Order can still fix the modules and come here again. If it's just about weakening their forces, doesn't this all seem a bit too dramatic? A lot of people who've been oppressed by the Order came too. It's like a final showdown or something. Why don't we just reopen the Hex Gate and charge through directly? Boss must have his own plans. The poker-faced guy said. Humphrey. That's what I hate most about boss, he never tells us the full plan. The blonde Lily snorted, clearly displeased. We only ever get to know part of the plan. Just then, Dee said quietly, I feel like it might have something to do with that Fire Society boss or whatever. Flame Thieves Society. The poker-faced guy corrected. Yeah, that one. Dee continued, boss has been getting real close with him lately. Probably got some intel from him and changed the plan because of it. Whatever. The blonde Lily flopped down on the ground, totally unbothered. Anyway, our mission's done. The poker-faced guy gently raised his hand, and a stream of barely visible airflow lifted her slightly. Kept her from lying flat on the ground. Mission ended too fast, now I'm bored. The blonde Lily stared at the ceiling, spacing out. If I'd known it'd be like this, I would have taken my time with the killing. Sigh, wonder how things are going in the other places. Meanwhile, after that open-close open sequence of the Hex Gate, all the wanted fugitives hiding across Zune from the Order's heaven of order started to emerge. Ha 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 ha, there's the signal. The Hex Gate really was taken by the Freedom Organization? Nice, they actually pulled it off. Without the Hex Gate, Order reinforcements can't get through. Slaughter all the Order lackeys in Zune, give us back the City of Freedom. Suddenly, people on the streets, diners in restaurants, VIPs in bathhouses, and moviegoers all revealed their true identities. They didn't attack regular folks, only the Order members. Especially around Order-exclusive zones, large groups of fugitives gathered. Like the Heaven of Order's Zune branches of the Arrest Division, Trade Department, Infrastructure Department, and so on. Basically, anywhere there were Order members, there were fugitives waiting to pounce. They'd been waiting for this moment a long time. Among them, the largest crowd gathered at the train trading platform. Because if they could break through the outer steel walls, the tens of thousands of trains inside would all be theirs. And the Order's main train trading site was also inside the trading platform. So they had every reason to go for it. In no time, Zune was in flames, engulfed in war. Even though the trading platform was protected by steel walls and packed with armed forces inside, the wild onslaught was overwhelming. Soon, a large hole was blown into the wall, and the conductors swarmed in. Some conductors who didn't even have trains and came to Zune with others quickly picked a train they liked, jumped in, and took off. The guards were completely outmatched by these bandits. They kept getting pushed back, and if they lagged even a bit, they'd be dead. The alarm blared, broadcasting an intruder warning and telling conductors to start up their trains and leave immediately. Lao Yu heard the commotion and went invisible to check out the situation. When he saw the blazing fire and loud explosions in the distance, he knew something had gone wrong. They're attacking, they're really attacking, Sister Zai. They really did? Zai was originally chilling in a group chat, where people were boasting about overthrowing the Order and rebuilding it. She never thought it would actually happen. Weren't they talking about overthrowing the Order? Now they're looting trains, going full $0 shopping? No wonder they're wanted criminals. Damn. Lao Yu quickly tried calling Chi Zhao, but after multiple attempts, he couldn't get through. What do we do? I can't reach the conductor's comm. Lao Yu was pacing in panic. Could something have happened to the conductor too? Yeah. He might be in even more danger than us. No, I can't just wait here. Saying that, Lao Yu ran out of the carriage again. Hey, Liu, where are you going? I'm going to set up traps, stop them from getting in. This is the conductor's train, I can't let anyone take it. I have to protect the conductor's train. Meanwhile, Li Huizi had already grabbed her Nichiren blade, regulating her breathing and ready to fight at any moment. Seeing everyone doing their part, Zai stomped her foot anxiously. Damn it, I wonder if I can even use those cannons without that guy's authorization. Thinking this, Zai took off at a run toward the artillery carriage. Soon, a group of people stormed into the Order's territory. Those female sales reps, clerks, and guards were long gone. This place used to be the high and mighty Order train sales center. In times of war, it instantly became a prime target. A few who arrived first immediately set their sights on Chi Zhao's red train. Damn, this train is awesome. So many starter carriages, extra large ones, even an artillery carriage. Shit, these blood-sucking Order bastards, we're taking this train. There's gotta be loads of good stuff inside. But just as they charged forward, bang. The one in front got blown away. Only then did they notice the ground was covered in silver discs. They were the military explosives Chi Zhao had confiscated from Huanga, Elvita, and Hondi before suicidal walking mines. Each mine was about 10 centimeters in diameter and 3 centimeters thick. From a distance, they just looked like thick silver discs. But these were high-tech weapons infused with Piltover tech, capable of automatically identifying and swiftly homing in on targets. Lao Yu had activated them and placed them near the entrance. Once anyone entered the area, the mines would zip toward the target, then boom. For a moment, Those silver discs actually halted their advance. But the violent explosions drew in more wolves. If this were any other place, they might have backed off. But this was the Order's heaven of order, their enemy's turf. And with such a good train right in front of them, no one wanted to walk away. Gradually, more and more people arrived. Someone then suggested, let's just use ranged attacks to detonate all these mines. And that artillery carriage destroy it too, in case it causes trouble. Anyway, we can get a level 40 big shot to log in later and use an auto repair module to fix everything. Auto repair, an unlockable module at level 40. It consumes upgrade materials and train coins to repair damaged trains. The more damaged it is, the more materials it takes. Everyone nodded in agreement. Various ranged attacks started forming in their hands. Energy cannons, light arrows, frost spikes, flame swallows. A torrent of skills and items burst forth in terrifying power. All the mines Lao Yu had set up were blown up. They then regrouped and aimed their next wave at the artillery carriage. I won't let you destroy the conductor's train, Lao Yu shouted, throwing a grenade into the crowd. The grenade exploded, but a white energy shield blocked it. Still, the attackers managed to charge up another round of attacks. Just then, 3 of the artillery cannons on that side of the artillery carriage slightly shifted angle. They were aiming right at them. With a slap from Zai, 3 explosive grenades shot out violently. The energy shield shattered instantly, shocking the crowd. But soon after, another round of shells flew in, and because they didn't put up a shield in time, several who failed to dodge were blown to bits. Lao Yu was overjoyed. It's Sister Zai. The survivors dodged artillery shells while trying to find blind spots in the cannon's firing range. Just as they found one and began charging another round of ranged attacks, Li Huizi suddenly burst out from the flank with her pink and white Nichiren blade. Breath of cherry blossom middle dot falling sakura flurry middle dot slash with you. Several swift vertical strikes, every one of the attackers charging up their skills had their hands severed. Screams of agony followed. Their focus had been entirely on the train, and none of them noticed this hidden killer in the corner. But Chi Zhao's train was still too long, and on the other side, more people had gathered to attack. Zai, from inside the artillery carriage, was controlling all 6 cannons, firing left and right. But each shot drained the cannon's durability. Eventually, due to the rapid consecutive firing, 4 of the cannons broke down, requiring train coins to repair. Gritting her teeth, Zai pulled out the 30 train coins she had and managed to fix 3 of them. Meanwhile, Lao Yu kept ambushing with his stealth skills. A grenade would suddenly come flying from nowhere, startling them into constant movement. They had to keep switching positions. This made it hard for them to focus their skills to destroy the artillery carriage. But as time dragged on, the cannon's durability hit 0 again. Lao Yu also ran out of grenades. And even though Li Huizi had on ghost step shoes, with more enemies piling in, she was clearly growing tired. Finally, a wave of dazzling, colorful attacks successfully landed on Chi Zhao's train. No one was left to stop them. Lao Yu's eyes went wide in horror. No. Sister Zai is still in there, don't. Boom. The artillery carriage was destroyed, and Chi Zhao's train split in 2. Zai was violently thrown out by the impact and knocked unconscious. Seeing the artillery carriage destroyed, the attackers pressed forward fearlessly. With no grenades left, Lao Yu pulled out his rifle to face them head-on. But with a rifle in hand, stealth made no difference. Anyone could spot him right away. A bullet fired from the shadows pierced through Lao Yu's shoulder, and blood gushed out. Lao Yu was wounded. Bleeding made his position even easier to track. His situation became even more dangerous. Li Huizi wasn't doing much better. She had taken down many enemies with her speed, but the sheer number overwhelmed her. Her stamina was running low, and her speed had dropped. She had several wounds on her body. Her lower abdomen, thigh, and arm were all bleeding. Ha 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 ha, what a pretty little babe. Is this your train? If it is, open the door and Uncle will spare your life. What's the matter? Can't move anymore? My blade's got poison on it, you know. Li Huizi gripped her Nichiren blade and supported herself against the ground, panting hard. At this point, she was running purely on willpower. Otherwise, she would have already passed out. Never mind. All beauties turn to bones in the end. Let Uncle help you get there faster. The next second, a line of blood bloomed across the pervert's neck. 1 slash to the throat. A second later, 3 more people's necks sprayed blood, their faces frozen in terror. Another second, 5. Then 10. Then 20. In just 5 seconds, all 36 attackers surrounding Lao Yu and Li Huizi were killed by a slash to the throat. Not a single one survived. Chapter 225, removing the fuel from the fire. The hex gate vanished, the drones exploded, and the entire scene descended into chaos. Faced with the out-of-control drones, Pi City didn't sit and wait for death. When they realized they couldn't regain control in time, someone on site immediately detonated a signal bomb. Once the signal bomb went off, all wireless signals within a 10-kilometer radius were blocked. This was done to cut the drone signal and force them to shut down. And it worked pretty well. Before the chain explosions hit, most of the drones lost their signal, their blades stopped spinning, and they dropped straight out of the sky. Sure, they still hurt people, but it was way better than shrapnel from an explosion flying everywhere. After all, falling drones are a lot easier to dodge. Of course, Chizhou and the others' communications were affected too. That included their claw phones and the earpieces distributed by Orderly Heaven. But just then, the hexgate that had vanished reappeared. Everyone kept running while shouting, "Seriously? Still doing fucking demos at a time like this? Shit, stop showing off your stupid gate already. Fix your damn drones." My second uncle just got blown up. But the hexgate only lasted about 3 seconds before it disappeared again. No one had time to care anymore. Everyone just kept squeezing toward the exit. While the crowd was still in a panic, a large group of people suddenly charged in from the distance. They were dressed differently and wielded all kinds of weapons. Some had regular SMGs, rifles, and pistols. Others had more futuristic gear like energy cannons, laser blades, and particle beam guns. There were also companion beasts, mutated beasts, and creepy monsters. In short, a chaotic mix of bizarre things. Chizhou froze for a second and was just about to draw his gun when one of them brushed past him. The others did the same, completely ignoring Chizhou and Wu Yu. They rushed past them and charged straight ahead, shouting about overthrowing Orderly Heaven as they stormed into the venue. They clashed with the uniformed Orderly Heaven agents who were responsible for security. Damn, that many fugitives were hiding nearby. Judging by how they act, they're clearly targeting Orderly Heaven. Good thing I'm just on a stealth mission today, otherwise I would have been torn to shreds in the first wave. Chizhou couldn't help but shudder. Some of these people were clearly tough. You could tell just from the first guy who passed him. Wait, if this place is under attack, what about the others? Chizhou pulled out his claw phone and realized there was no signal. Was it that bomb from earlier? Shit, what if something's happening to Lao Yu and the others? No signal, no contact, no way to confirm anything. Without hesitation, Chizhou made his decision. No matter what happens here, it's none of his business. Lao Yu and the others' safety is what matters most. Brother Wu, something came up at home, I gotta go. It's too dangerous here, you should get out too. Wu Yu nodded, and Chizhou took off at full speed. To avoid revealing his powers, Chizhou made sure to run to a secluded area before using Anchor Point Rewind. So you're just a little punk who can go invisible. You're the one who threw the grenade that killed my second sister. A rough-looking man raised his SMG and aimed it at Lao Yu. Die. Lao Yu took several shots and was already too weak to resist. Just then, the man's eyes bulged like a goldfish's. A clean red line sliced through the air. Startled, he dropped his gun and clutched his neck, staggering backward. Chizhou followed up with a heavy kick, slamming him over 3 meters away. He picked up Lao Yu and carried him back to the train. Then he hurried back again to rescue the critically injured Li Huizi and the unconscious Zai. After that, Chizhou activated dynamic camouflage, rendering the train invisible. At the same time, he triggered the electromagnetic defense system. The electromagnetic defense could block all flying physical attacks. Of course, that only worked for tangible objects. It couldn't stop energy-based or magical attacks. See Captain. Seeing Chizhou, Lao Yu finally broke down, tears bursting out. Captain, I'm sorry. I failed to protect the train. I'm sorry. Lao Yu buried his head in Chizhou's chest and sobbed loudly. I'm not fit to be the vice conductor, sob sob sob. No, you did great. Chizhou ruffled Lao Yu's hair. Then he pulled out a blob of silver liquid nanobots. This might hurt a bit. Hang in there. Under Chizhou's control, the nanobots split up and drilled into the bullet wounds on Lao Yu's body. They devoured all the leftover bullets and shrapnel, making sure nothing remained inside him. If it hurts, bite my arm. Lao Yu shook his head. Though pale, he forced a smile. It doesn't hurt. Not at all. Chizhou patted his head and focused on controlling the nanobots. Once he confirmed that every bit of shrapnel was gone, the nanobots crawled out of Lao Yu's body. Then Chizhou pulled out a bottle of intermediate healing potion and popped the cap. Come on, open up. Lao Yu obediently tilted his head back and opened his mouth. Gulp, gulp. The potion slid down his throat, and the bullet holes and other injuries on his body began to heal at a visible rate. Chizhou then treated Li Huizi's injuries and woke up Zai. Zai had the lightest wounds, just a mild concussion. Seeing Chizhou about to head out again, Lao Yu immediately got up to follow. Take a break. You've done enough, my vice conductor. Zhao gently rubbed his head and reassured him, "Leave the rest to me. You all stay here and rest." Soon, more people rushed in, drawn by the noise. "Quick, quick, it's right there. It's the orderly heaven site. The commotion is coming from there. Hurry or the good trains will be gone." But when they saw the collapsed buildings, rising smoke, and bodies everywhere, their faces turned pale. Horrifying. This place was a literal slaughterhouse. They started to hesitate, but the next second, a figure flashed by and 3 of them clutched their necks and dropped dead, shocked and confused. Only one man in a black skin-tight suit survived. Huh? A self-protecting suit? Zhao missed the kill, quickly backed off, and vanished from sight. His strike just now hadn't even scratched the man's suit. Interesting. The feel was odd. When he swung, it felt like something invisible was in the way. Zhao was surprised. The man was even more so. The man touched his neck and looked around, but couldn't find the attacker. So the Kailine blood armor activated on its own and extended to protect my neck? Then he looked around and saw all his companions bleeding from the neck, instantly dead. What the fuck? What just happened? Good thing he had that item from the level 7 treasure chest, Kailine blood armor. It would sense danger to the wearer and automatically extend for protection. Normal blades, bullets, even armor-piercing rounds couldn't break through it. It even had decent resistance to magical attacks like fire, ice spikes, and beams. Knowing something was off, the man tried to retreat from the area. Leave? Too late. Zhao activated his skill Delete Clothing. With a single point of his finger, the Kailine blood armor on the man vanished. Even with the Wisdom Goddess pendant on, Zhao felt like his head had been smashed with a hammer. He bit his tongue lightly to snap out of it. Then he activated Word Spirit, ×0 again, caught up to the man, and finished him off in one strike. Without the Kailine blood armor, the man died like all the others. Zhao dragged his body to the rear of the train and dumped it inside. 3 minutes later, the deleted clothes would return. But by then, they wouldn't belong to him anymore. No wonder my compatibility with flame breathing is only 73%. Ever since he mastered Word Spirit, ×0, Zhao had grown to love that step-ahead feeling. Extreme speed allowed him to take out enemies before they even knew what hit them. Compared to the full frontal, brute force style of flame breathing, Zhao preferred the elegance of ×0. Though flame breathing did have its strengths like wiping out zombies, beasts, and monsters in large groups. As Zhao took down another 5 or 6 waves of intruders, no one dared approach this area anymore. Everyone realized something was wrong with this place. It felt like there was some kind of rule: step in, and your neck gets sliced. For a moment, no one dared get close. That gave Zhao a much-needed breather. Frequently activating Word Spirits placed a heavy burden on his body. Looking out at the smoke and fire, the blinding flashes, Zhao let out a sigh. Sure enough, something happened here too. No, more accurately, it's not just here. Hyun might be at war entirely. Damn it, they actually blasted my train apart from the artillery carriage. Over a dozen regular carriages had already been separated from the engine. They become independent units. So dynamic camouflage, electromagnetic defense, the newbie disguise and so on, none of it worked anymore. Not even a minute had passed, and water was already seeping into the train, the humidity rising fast. During a break, Zhao took out his claw phone since there was still signal here. Sure enough, news about the war was being pushed out. Pi City Security Bureau, all residents, please lock your doors and windows, do not run around, shelter in place. Avoid areas related to Orderly Heaven, including the train trading platform, Orderly Infrastructure Bureau, Orderly Commerce Bureau, and parts of the Orderly Capture Division. If you are currently working in those areas, evacuate immediately. After reading the message, Zhao understood instantly. Well, damn, this is a straight-up move to remove the fuel from under the cauldron. Even if it wasn't orchestrated by the Freedom Organization, it still delivered a heavy blow to Orderly Heaven. With the Hex Gate closed, Orderly Heaven couldn't send reinforcements in time. And there were tons of fugitives docked in Zune. Taking out Orderly Heaven's people in Zune was almost a sure bet. After docking, they didn't in place. They must have been waiting for this moment. The train trading platform had loads of trains parked. It was bound to become a primary target, totally expected. After all, many fugitives were packed into each train. This was the best chance for those without trains to steal one. Zhao simply stood guard here, one hand on the rear half of his train. He was going to store it into his realm bracelet. Those carriages were stocked with their essential supplies. Once he reached level 40 and unlocked the auto repair module, he could reconnect the two halves of the train. But before Zhao could store the back half into the realm bracelet, a group of people came swarming over. They hid in the distance, muttering, and then started pulling out their long-range weapons. Soon, a barrage of chaotic, uncoordinated long-range attacks rained down. Corpses piled up, But they couldn't hold back the thick stench of greed. Rivers of blood still couldn't stop the looters. If they couldn't have it, they'd rather destroy it. The walls outside shattered under bombardment, bricks and debris flying, smoke billowing. The outermost drains got riddled with holes by the first wave of attacks. Push harder, folks. Tear down this damn orderly zone. Just seeing that symbol makes me wanna puke. Orderly my ass paw. Get more people. Bring over those seized artillery trains too. Bomb it faster. Ha 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 ha. Today is the day orderly heaven falls. We're the witnesses to history. The fugitives outside had gone completely mad. Thank God Shi Zhao's train still had electromagnetic defense, blocking most flying attacks. Damn it, just a bit more. Just a second more and I can store it into the realm bracelet. Once I've got it, I'm getting back on the train and gunning it out of here. I don't give a fuck what happens to this place. I just need to make sure my people are safe. Yurden, Boundary C, at the Hexgate ribbon-cutting ceremony. After returning, Zhongnan and the others had to redo the entire ribbon-cutting procedure. But when the lucky guest tried to test the gate, something went wrong. He couldn't pass through the hex gate. The host froze. He stepped up to try it himself, same result. What's going on here? The problem's not here. The white-haired old man, the chief designer, immediately spotted the issue. The hex gate in Zune has been shut down. What did you say? Zhongnan looked down at the white-haired old man. You're saying the hex gate in Zune is closed? How could you let this happen? This was supposed to be an important ribbon-cutting event, and you made such a huge blunder. You even let one of the participants get food poisoning. A random secretary had to stand in. Is Zune just completely ignoring the importance of orderly heaven now? Secretary Taemin fumbled for words, while the white-haired old man remained silent. Soon, they received reports of riots breaking out in Zune. What the hell's going on over there? Those fugitives. They couldn't hold back any longer, huh? Updates came quickly. There were just too many fugitives, and they all had one goal, to attack orderly heaven. Orderly agents were being forced back step by step, over half already slaughtered. Damn it. Our brothers and comrades are being wounded and killed. They need our support. And the fastest way was through the hex gate behind them. Zhongnan grabbed the white-haired old man by the tie and yanked him close. We need to reactivate the hex gate and support Zune through it. Chapter 226, the 8th special module with you, always. Zhongnan was furious. I know you added a backdoor to the energy generators program. As long as someone logs in with top-level admin credentials, they can remotely reopen the hex gate. Have them reopen it for me right now. Move. Zhongnan let go of the old man and threw him toward the staff responsible for communicating with Zune. Then he turned to the audience and waved his hand. Everyone, get ready to support our comrades. The moment the hex gate reconnects, we head to Zune. Wipe out those fugitives and show them what orderly heaven is all about. The audience all rose to their feet, shouting in unison, order. 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 Zhongnan looked angry and stern on the surface, but deep down, he was thrilled. Nice. Just as I expected from the crowd I handpicked. They sure know how to cheer. Very soon, bad news came from the other side. No, impossible. The back door I left behind has top-level authority. How could it have been shut down? There are only 3 people who know how to access it. There's a mole. There's definitely a mole. The white-haired old man's eyes bulged with rage. A surge of blood rushed up and he coughed up a mouthful. All my life's work. Just a casualty of political struggle. Hey. Hey hey hey. Ha 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 ha. The next moment, the old man collapsed. Zhongnan was stunned. He grabbed the old man by the collar and shook him hard, trying to wake him. Don't you fucking pass out now. We haven't solved anything yet. Elsa walked over and grabbed Zhongnan's arm, shaking her head. It's no use. We've just received confirmation. The bunker where the energy generator was stored has already fallen. We've completely lost control of the hex gate. Zhongnan turned to look at Elsa, dazed. Never expected. Never thought they'd pull a move like removing the fuel from the cauldron. Aren't they afraid of igniting the wrath of orderly heaven? Instead of attacking Yurden, they directly targeted the orderly members in Zune. Even if they kill every last one of orderly heaven's people, do they really think they can take over Zune? A bunch of fugitives with no organization, no discipline, just temporarily teamed up for profit. They really look down on the power of order. A sonic boom rang out. A purple bolt of lightning crashed down above the heads of the capture division agents. It was Donghei Izui. She was originally stationed at Paradise, but upon receiving the king's orders, she immediately returned to Yurden. With a wave of her hand, a massive black train with 100 carriages appeared. Teams 1 to 5, come with me. Teams 6 to 10, stay and hold the line. Board the train. The capture division agents perked up at her command. As all 100 carriage doors opened, Capture Division Teams 1 through 5 3,000 agents in total filed aboard in perfect order. Dong Heizui was the last to board. Once the doors closed, she summoned a projection screen. Special module, with you, always. With you, always select a conductor and input their station to instantly teleport to their side. Can be used once every 24 hours. You must enter the correct name, ID, and station name for it to activate. Before level 30, with you, always can't carry passengers. The train must be empty, only the conductor can use it. At level 30, a new function unlocks, it can bring others along. The passenger cap is 100, with a cost of 10 train coins per person. At level 40, the cap rises to 1,000, and the cost drops to 5 coins each. At level 50, the cap increases to 10,000, and the cost drops to 3 coins per person. At level 60, the passenger limit becomes infinite, and the cost per person drops to just 1 train coin. As long as your train is long enough, big enough, and you've got enough money, you can take tens of thousands with you. Also, the module cooldown drops to 12 hours. Dong Heizui was max level 60, so her with you, always module was at its strongest form. She fed in 3,000 train coins and selected her target vehicle. A flash of white light, and the train, along with 3,000 elite agents, vanished from the spot. At the same time, at the train trading platform in Zune, the fugitives outside were still attacking. The entire area was almost razed to the ground. Come on, faster! Faster! How could these few carriages be packed with so much stuff? It's been nearly 3 minutes and still not stored? The cover in front had been blown away, and now a lot of attacks were hitting Qizhao's train directly. At that moment, with a low hum, Qizhao finally managed to store the rear half of the train into the realm bracelet. But with the train gone, he was suddenly exposed to the hail of wildly diverse long-range attacks. Just as he was about to activate a word spirit and flee, a massive black train appeared out of nowhere. It blocked the space between Qizhao and the fugitive mob. All the attacks that should have hit Qizhao were completely intercepted by the black train. 100 doors swung open, and 3,000 well-trained, perfectly synchronized Capture Division members rushed out in formation. Their uniforms were identical, standard gear matching, even their height and weight looked uniform. With their arrival, the battle quickly turned. Especially when a bolt of purple lightning stormed into the fray. Dong Heizui. That signature lightning, Qizhao knew it all too well. It was really Dong Heizui. This must be her train so long. And she brought so many people. From their look, they were clearly Capture Division troops. Guess I don't have to run now. Qizhao's eyes lit up. He pulled out his ZZ pistol and charged into the fight. As he ran, he shouted, "Mess with orderly heaven? You're all fucking dead." Bullets flew like they were free, forcing the fugitives into retreat. Very soon, the entire train trading platform fell quiet. Dong Heizui rampaged through the crowd like an uncontrollable meteor. After wiping out over 90% of the fugitives, Dong Heizui floated into the air, her voice thundering across the sky, "I am Dong Heizui, chief of the Capture Division of Orderly Heaven. If you don't want to die, you'd better run faster. If you're slow, you stay here and die with them." Her declaration completely shattered the fugitives' will to fight. They fled in utter chaos, turning tail and running for their lives. Then Dong Heizui turned to her own forces, "This place is yours. Once they're all taken down, Team 5 stays to clean up. The rest go support the other sectors." Roger that. After giving her orders, Dong Heizui turned into lightning and shot off again. When she arrived at the Hex Gate in Zune, the battle below was in full swing. Though they were still fighting, everyone noticed that bolt of lightning tearing through the sky. No way that lightning could it be? The Cheongsam. It has to be. That's the Capture Chief of Orderly Heaven, Dong Heizui, the muscle devil herself. Shit, get out. Stay away from that area. No way she's here. Wasn't the Hex Gate shut down? Was she hiding in June this whole time? Damn it, we got played by Freedom's boss. Compared to the fugitives' shock and fear, morale among the orderly forces soared. It's Chief Dong Heizui. She's here. Thank God Chief Dong is here. We're saved. Don't run, you bastard. Keep fighting. But Dong Heizui didn't rush into the fight recklessly. Her first priority was to regain control of the Hex Gate. The king was tied up and couldn't intervene. Everything now rested on her. Only by reactivating the Hex Gate and allowing Orderly's forces to arrive could they win decisively. There were just too many fugitives docked in Zune this time. She couldn't handle it all alone. According to intel, the Hex Gate's energy generator was buried 3 kilometers underground, beneath the ribbon-cutting venue. Dong Heizui turned into lightning and dove underground. Just then, a cluster of transparent bubbles floated toward her and surrounded her. They looked fragile, but even in her lightning form, Dong Heizui couldn't break through them. As the bubbles gathered, they actually stopped her cold. Dong Heizui reverted to her original form, suspended midair. With a shout and a powerful tremor from her body, she blew all the bubbles away. Her black cheongsam with golden dragon embroidery whipped in the wind. With slanted brows and sharp eyes, Dong Heizui looked down. Among the battling crowd, she instantly locked onto a beautiful female Taoist in a teal robe with a ponytail. "All right, Daisy. That's enough." Wu Yu patted the little purple snake coiled around his left wrist and spoke. Daisy closed its mouth and stopped blowing bubbles. Then it stuck out its tiny purple tongue and licked the back of Wu Yu's hand. Dong Heizui narrowed her eyes. Wu Yu looked up at her and smiled, forming a spell sign with one hand. Fine. In an instant, the bubbles that Dong Heizui had blasted away flew back toward her. This time, the bubbles linked together into a long chain. The bubble rope wrapped tightly around Dong Heizui, and no matter how she struggled, she couldn't tear or cut it. Hey. Interesting. Dong Heizui had 10,000 ways to break free from this restraint. But she deliberately chose the hardest, and dumbest, way. She broke free by brute force. Dong Heizui took a deep breath, then suddenly tensed all four limbs and yanked outward with full strength. The air rope, unmatched in both toughness and elasticity, comparable to an aircraft carrier's arresting cable, was forcibly ripped apart by her. Once it broke, the air rope deflated and disappeared into thin air. In the next instant, a lightning javelin materialized in Dong Heizui's hand. She hurled it fiercely at Wu Yu's head. The javelin was blazingly fast. Within the blink of an eye, it was in front of Wu Yu. Unhurried, Wu Yu called out to Daisy, who blew out a bubble to envelop the two of them. The lightning javelin struck the bubble, ripples surged across its surface, and the lightning was completely neutralized. A moment later, Dong Heizui had already appeared behind Wu Yu. She lashed out with a powerful sidekick. Wu Yu reacted quickly and raised his arms to block. Even so, he was sent flying 10 meters away. Everyone Wu Yu crashed into along the way was knocked back too. That just showed how devastating Dong Heizui's kick really was. If it had been someone else, they'd have been torn into chunks. Wu Yu's feet sank deep into the ground. He shook off the numbness in his arms. The bubble shield surrounding him had burst the instant Dong Heizui's kick landed. No wonder they called Dong Heizui the muscle devil. She really was a melee monster. That kind of speed and strength was a total nightmare for mages and marksmen. Surprisingly, Dong Heizui herself was also shocked. That kick she just used, though it carried no lightning, was her full-strength blow. She'd gone all in. She never held back. If she had 10/10 of strength, she used 10/10. She wasn't the type to mess around with 6 or 7/10 to probe. Who would have thought this slim-looking girl could take such a hit? Among all the people she'd fought, this one ranked top 10. But she wasn't listed among the known fugitives. As the chief of the capture division, Dong Heizui was extremely familiar with the wanted list. Especially those above level 1, she knew them better than anyone. Yet the person in front of her, mysterious skills, tough physique, completely unrecorded. Could she be that extremely low-key leader of the Freedom Organization? The Freedom Organization had risen quickly over the past 2 years, and Orderly Heaven didn't have much intel on them. At first, they thought Kong Yu, who was often seen in public, was the leader. But later, they found out Kong Yu was, at most, the second in command. Above her, there was someone else. But this person was so low profile, many even doubted if they truly existed. Leader of the Freedom Organization? Dong Heizui didn't launch another attack. Instead, she spoke first. Though the two were 10 meters apart, there was no one between them. Everyone else was deliberately avoiding the area. This zone had become a rare empty space in the middle of the battlefield. Can't say that I am. I'm Wu Yu. Wu Yu smiled and gave a slight bow. Wu as in the character for speech, and Yu as in leisure. Wu Yu. Dong Heizui stared at Wu Yu, as if she were etching him into her memory. Fine. This move of yours, removing the fuel from the fire, was well played. Classic you people. Originally, they thought the Freedom Organization would sneak into Yurden through the Hex Gate again, just like last time. But they changed tactics. Dong Heizui's black cheongsam with golden dragon patterns fluttered in the wind, though there was no breeze. Too bad you miscalculated. Even if the Hex Gate is shut down, we still have ways to support June. Wu Yu nodded, still wearing that gentle smile. I know you have the with you, always module. No, I should say every chief of the capture division is equipped with that special module. I'm not wrong, am I? Dong Heizui's face turned cold. Zhang Zuan told you. Wu Yu neither confirmed nor denied it. Zhang Zuan's with you, always module was reclaimed by the king the moment he betrayed Orderly Heaven. So what? Special modules are rare, sure, but not impossible to obtain again. Wu Yu calmly clarified. At the same time, He pulled a yellow talisman out of a cloth pouch. With a flick of his hand, the talisman ignited on its own. What did you just do? Dong Heizui didn't look pleased. Her voice was cold. Isn't it obvious? Sending a signal. Now that Chief Dong Heizui has arrived in Zune. Who's guarding beautiful paradise? The king? Wu Yu smiled faintly. If I'm not mistaken, the king should be neck-deep in trouble right about now. Chapter 227, Paradise in the Mouths of the Wanderers and Scavengers of Zune. Paradise was a legendary utopia on Earth. It was said that there were 3 rivers in paradise. The one to the south was called the Mother River. Flowing through it was milky white milk. The one to the north was called the Warrior River. Flowing through it was sweet, mellow wine. And the one in the middle was called Heaven's Gift. Flowing through it was spring water spilled by deities from the heavens. It could be drunk directly, sweet and delicious beyond compare. The riverbeds were covered with agates, jades, gemstones, pearls, and gold. Even mermaids danced in the water, and if one could receive their fragrant kiss, it was said to extend life and even reverse aging. Between the 3 rivers lay a vast forest. The fruits on the trees were soft, fragrant loaves of bread. And in the forest, elves sang from the skies. Their songs could ease fatigue, relieve stress, and calm the mind. Here, if you were hungry, you could pick bread from the forest. If you were thirsty, you could drink milk from the Mother River. There was no hunger here, no daily struggle for food and water. There was no heavy smog, no deadly miasma, just spring-like seasons, warmth, and peace. No illness, no pain, no sorrow, only boundless happiness and joy. At the beginning, paradise was indeed just like the vagabonds described. But now, after renovations by orderly heaven, luxurious villas were rising one after another in the forest. Just half a month ago, the Flame Thieves Society infiltrated, tore down a few of their buildings, and stole a Boar silver coin. And just earlier, Dong Heizui had been standing guard here under the king's orders. She was basically acting as their bodyguard. At the very heart of paradise, a palace-like villa stood amidst a carefully manicured garden. Dong Heizui got reassigned again. Seems like the situation is getting rowdy this time. Liu Quan lay in the pool, enjoying the massages of the servant girls. What's up with that so-called freedom organization? They're like flies, so annoying. Doesn't matter. No matter how noisy they get, they'll only stir up trouble down below. They can't get into paradise. After all, you have to spend 3 full days down there before you're allowed in here. But last time, those rats found a loophole. They even managed to snatch a Boar silver coin. TCH, all it did was make the 6th game start a bit early. Did they really think they could stir up something big? Humphrey. Because they know we can counteract their moves with rule clashes if they go too far. He just got lucky, only snatched 1 boar. How could that possibly compare to what we've built up over the years? You said it, Huge. Ha 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 ha. These people really don't know how good they've got it. Have they forgotten how hard we worked to get here? So many harmful rules, weren't they removed thanks to us? Like the most dangerous season, the disaster season. Removing that cost father and Uncle Liu the qualification rights of dozens of people. If not for that, there'd be even more dead by now. Exactly. We've done so much for them, and in the end, they call us parasites. Ungrateful bastards. Especially that Zhang Xuan. We invested so many resources into him, and now that his wings have hardened, he turns his back on us like we're strangers. In a fit of anger, Liu Quan flung away the maid who was massaging his legs. Where the hell did this girl come from? So clumsy with her hands and feet. Please don't be mad, Huge. Please don't be mad. Wang Han quickly waved his hand, and several lightly dressed maids bowed and retreated. They were all deaf and mute, responding only to hand gestures. They quietly slipped away along a small path to the backyard. And in that backyard were all kinds of strange and bizarre items, all of them treasure chests. Even the paths in the garden were paved with treasure chests. And the gaps between them were filled with golden train coins. Grab a handful at random, and it was worth more than most people's monthly salary. Once the maids had left, Liu Quan rolled over and continued, we still can't let our guard down. They've got ways to sneak into paradise. You mean using bonded ring, Huge? Liu Quan nodded. Then no worries, Huge. Even if they have that module, none of the trains here are tied to an account. So even with bonded ring, there's no way to lock on. They can't get in. Liu Quan shook his head. These people are sneaky as hell, always scheming to slip into paradise. Don't let those rats find another gap. Delete your account too. Dong Heizui won't be able to use bonded ring again for 12 hours anyway. No need to leave an opening. You're right, Huge. I'll go delete it right now. Inside the villa, the carefree revelry continued. Above it all, the king floated silently in the sky, his bright eyes watching every scene unfold below, neither pleased nor angry. Compared to the peace and indulgence of paradise, Xion was now littered with corpses and thick with smoke. Dong Heizui knew that even if something went wrong in paradise now, she wouldn't make it back in time. Bonded ring was already on cooldown. She would have to wait 12 hours to use it again. Her top priority now was to reclaim control over the Hex Gate. But the man in front of her was incredibly difficult to deal with. In just 3 minutes, the two had exchanged over 100 blows. They fought from ground to sky, then back to the ground again. Wu Yu's skills and items didn't look that powerful, but they were already tricky. It was the style Dong Heizui hated most. They clashed once more and backed away. This time, Dong Heizui didn't press the attack. Instead, she said, "You're pretty capable, convincing so many wanted criminals to come to Xion and fight us together. That ambush on Dream Palace last time you planned that too, didn't you?" "Oh no, you give me too much credit." Wu Yu waved his hands, smiling. "It's really because you guys forced us to." "Humphrey. What did you promise them to make them so willing to fight?" "Promise? Nothing." Wu Yu looked confused. "I'm broke as hell. What could I possibly give them? Don't tell me they came willingly. For one Hex Gate, that risk isn't worth it. If you insist." "I just told them one fact." Wu Yu raised 6 fingers. "The 6th game has started early." Dong Heizui was stunned for a moment when she heard that. Then her mind raced clearly, something crucial had clicked. Wu Yu saw the change in her expression and continued, "Don't be fooled by the fact that we're already in the 5th game. Most people haven't found many treasure chests. But hey, traveling through countless worlds always brings surprises. However, only items and skill cards drawn from chests are permanent. Once a new game starts, many people lose their abilities and rare items. The 5th game starting already caused massive losses of supernatural power and gear. With the 6th game launching early, people are panicking even more. What if I'm next to lose everything? How can I resist orderly heaven then? So why not go for one last gamble now? If they wait until the 6th wave of players leaves the newbie village, even more people will lose what they have. And by then, overthrowing you guys will be nearly impossible. It's that simple, anyone could figure it out." Wu Yu spread his hands with a helpless expression. "I didn't have to say much. No convincing needed. Like I said from the beginning, you guys forced this. Sly tricks, silver tongue, twisting words like a snake." Dong Heizui spat out 3 phrases, her face cold. "Dong Heizui, do you really think I can't kill you?" As Wu Yu spoke, the temperature seemed to drop by 10 degrees. He shook his head and said, "I won't kill you because you're just an ignorant, loyal enforcer. Join the right side, Dong Heizui." "Hey. He. Ha 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 ha." Dong Heizui laughed like she'd heard a joke from hell. She pointed at the corpses of civilians caught up in the battle and said, "This is what you call the right side? Look at what you've done. How many innocent lives lost. Xion has become a living hell because of you." Hearing that, Wu Yu frowned. "That I do feel guilty about. But most of them did listen to me and avoided attacking anyone outside of orderly heaven. And I'll personally deal with anyone who harmed innocent people." Wu Yu sighed, eyes once again firm. He spoke with resolve, "No blood, no rebirth." Dong Heizui gritted her silver teeth hard enough to grind. "Excuses." Behind her, a phantom dragon appeared, growing from 3 meters to over 100 in just a few breaths. The giant dragon opened its mouth, releasing a beam of pure energy straight at Wu Yu. Chapter 228, Who told you that holding a gun automatically makes you a marksman? At the same time, in the train trading platform. Faced with the sudden appearance of Dong Heizui and the well-trained, uniformed capture unit, the loosely allied wanted criminals were quickly defeated. Some, knowing how powerful Dong Heizui was, immediately fled or found nearby buildings to hide in. But once they saw Dong Heizui leave, they grew arrogant again. Fuck that. Without Dong Heizui, they're nothing. Yeah, they're all dressed the same, acting like they're hot shit. Come on, let's kill them all. No way anyone's stopping me from getting my train. The remaining wanted criminals quickly regrouped and launched a counterattack. Both sides engaged in a fierce firefight, and Qi Zhao joined in too. But he always hovered near the train, never straying too far. After all, Lao Yu and the others were still inside, their safety was his top priority. Qi Zhao kept himself at a distance where he could jump in instantly if anything went wrong. He wore scout gloves and wielded a ZZ pistol. Frost bullets for control. Armor-piercing and incendiary rounds for damage. Even healing bullets to support teammates. He switched between them smoothly with just a thought. The ZZ pistol didn't need reloading or ammo, it was insanely useful in this situation. A full 1,000 energy points enough for Qi Zhao to keep firing for a long time. He had checked this item before on the trading platform. It was available for trade. Though it wasn't cheap, it wasn't some rare artifact either. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare use it so openly. After all, it was given to him by Kong Yu. Soon, everyone realized there was a god-tier marksman in the squad who could dish out damage, heal, and control all at once. But since Chi Zhao was wearing casual clothes and hadn't really interacted with a capture unit, they didn't recognize him. They all just thought he was a regular train conductor. Of course, it was the wanted criminals who noticed Chi Zhao first. It was hard not to. He was a real pain in the ass. They had just knocked out a capture unit member, only for Chi Zhao to bring them back with a healing bullet. And the guy was elusive as hell, shooting once, then changing position twice. In a word, sneaky. And the worst part? His aim was dead on. Those slow bullets that hit and crippled their movement made dodging the standard tranquilizer rounds even harder. So damn annoying. Just then, a thin man in a mask stepped forward. No worries. Leave that sneaky shooter to me. I'll make sure that little punk regrets standing against us. Clearly, he had the skills to back up that claim. He turned into a shadow and merged with the shadows on the ground. Everyone gasped. It's the shadow assassin. He is here too. Awesome. He's famous for his assassinations. We're saved. Come on, keep drawing fire, give Shadow Bro time to strike. The shadow assassin could jump between shadows, and while inside them, he was invincible. Targeting him was impossible, and no attack could harm him. Unless it was 360-degree light that wiped out all nearby shadows, forcing him out of his stealth. He moved swiftly through shadows, walls, people, even a pebble shadow, and finally reached Chi Zhao's shadow. From within, he drew a knife. The blade was pitch black, like him, blending into the darkness. This blade was coated in deadly poison, something 10,000 times more toxic than instant kill venom. Just a drop of blood, and the victim's body would rot and die within 30 seconds. That guy's still focused forward, totally unaware I'm right behind him. The shadow assassin struck, bursting out from Chi Zhao's shadow. His dagger aimed straight for Chi Zhao's face. As the blade neared Chi Zhao's eye, the assassin couldn't help but grin. Got him. Die, little marksman. Next second he stumbled forward awkwardly. Because he stabbed at empty air. Chi Zhao had vanished. The assassin's poisoned dagger clattered to the ground. He dropped to his knees, clutching his bleeding neck, eyes full of shock and disbelief. A mouthful of blood spewed from his lips as he muttered unwillingly, "Why?" Chi Zhao sheathed his knife and turned away with disdain. Who the hell told you that anyone holding a gun must be a marksman? Then he pulled out his ZZ pistol and finished the guy off with a few shots. Just to be safe, he stuffed the corpse into his realm bracelet. Now he was sure it was dead for real. That freak jumped out of his own shadow. If the guy hadn't yelled "Die, little marksman," Chi Zhao might not have reacted in time. Shadow-based abilities were no joke. If not for Chi Zhao having word spirit, 0 time, he'd be a goner. Assassins really were counters to marksmen. Too bad Chi Zhao wasn't a marksman. He was an assassin too. In a battle of speed, whoever's faster wins. The whole clash took just a heartbeat. Most nearby people didn't even realize what happened. Chi Zhao resumed his role as a marksman, but this time, more cautiously. On the other side of the battlefield, the wanted criminals were steadily pushed back. But just then, a woman stepped forward. Bunch of losers, get behind me. Dragon scale armor. As her arms trembled, her top burst open. But beneath the fabric wasn't human skin, it was black dragon scales. Dragon form. The black scales spread further, covering her neck and cheeks. Her hands transformed into dragon claws, and a steel-like dragon tail burst from her back. A humanoid dragon warrior suddenly appeared. She charged forward, wreaking havoc down the road. All thanks to that suit of black dragon scale armor. Ordinary bullets couldn't even scratch it. Even Orderly Heaven's custom tranquilizer darts didn't work on her. Anyone who tried to fight her up close was torn apart by her razor-sharp claws. Her claws were sharp and tough, grabbing someone was like crushing tofu. No one could stop her. Just then, a slender man wearing glasses charged forward with a blade. He slashed at her neck only to leave a faint white scratch. And this was Li Diansheng's slash, a swing that could normally chop off a pig's head with ease. The clash caught Chi Zhao's attention. He squinted. That back looked familiar. Huh? Wasn't that Li Huizi's brother, Li Diansheng? With everyone dressed the same among these 3,000 plus people, Chi Zhao hadn't noticed him until now. Wasn't he still in his probation period? How'd he end up here too? Not good. That dragon woman was tough. Seeing Li Diansheng failing to break her defense, Chi Zhao pulled out lust and rushed over. Ha 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 ha. Give it up, you little flea. My dragon scales aren't something your junk blade can cut. Why don't you just give up and hand over your life? Can't pierce the scales? Then go for the eyes. Li Diancheng twisted his body at an impossible angle, slicing sideways before thrusting forward, the blade tip slamming precisely into the mother dragon's eye. Og! The blinding pain enraged her, and her rage made her even stronger. Die! As her deadly claw slashed toward him, Li Diancheng defended instinctively, draw, block, counter. Still, he was sent flying by brute force. And his blade snapped in two. No surprise the enraged mother dragon had terrifying strength. Just like when Qi Zhao first met him, Li Diancheng proved tough as nails. He landed hard, but braced himself up with an elbow, struggling to his feet. But the one-eyed dragon woman was already charging in, claws slashing down. No. Zhao Li, fall back. It's too late, she's gone berserk. Don't do it. Right as the claws were about to strike, Qi Zhao appeared, gripping his blade in both hands. He blocked her slash. Clang. A crisp sound rang out as Qi Zhao stopped the blow, then yanked Li Diancheng back. Once they were at a safe distance, Qi Zhao shouted angrily at everyone around, "What the hell are you waiting for? Suppressive fire, now!" Everyone finally snapped out of it, and a fresh wave of bullets rained down. Hiss. What strength! The recoil numbed their arms. Li Diancheng saw who had saved him and his eyes lit up immediately. Qi Zhao. Qi Zhao gave a nod, and the next moment, his figure vanished. The mother dragon instantly sensed danger. She raised her arms to protect the only weak spot on her body, her eyes. She trusted her dragon scales wouldn't be pierced, so even if it meant losing her vision, she would guard that last intact eye. Unfortunately, Qi Zhao's target had never been her eyes. Bang! Qi Zhao appeared behind the mother dragon, with lust pressed directly to her heart. No doubt, her dragon scales were seriously tough. Regular weapons couldn't do a thing to her. Too bad for her, she ran into Qi Zhao. With lust vibrating at high frequency, those once impenetrable dragon scales shattered instantly. With the armor broken, Qi Zhao plunged the blade into her fragile heart and stirred. Lust crafted by the Dragon King Norton himself. Specifically designed to pierce dragon scales. Simple and clean, one slash, one kill. By the time the mother dragon reacted, she was already vomiting blood. Her face full of disbelief, she collapsed to the ground. With her death, the rest of the criminals completely lost their morale and scattered in all directions. The capture unit seized the opportunity and gave chase. Li Diancheng forced himself to stand up. Qi Zhao, thank you. You've saved me again. Qi Zhao waved it off, signaling it was no big deal. Didn't expect to see you here. By the way, where's Huizi? Isn't she with you? She's in my train. Come on, I'll take you to her. As long as she's safe. I won't go. Chief Dong Heizui said, once we clean this place up, we need to support other zones too. I want to end this fight as soon as possible and wipe out those damn criminals. Seeing how serious Li Diancheng was, Qi Zhao didn't insist. He pulled out a newly acquired Nichiren blade and 2 bottles of basic healing potion, handing them to Li Diancheng. Stay safe. Thanks. I'll return them to you. Li Diancheng didn't put on airs. He accepted the items and turned to rejoin the squad. The hex gate had only been closed for 10 minutes, and the place had already become a living hell. When Wei Chu saw a mob charge into the venue screaming "Kill all orderly dogs," he was stunned. But only for a second. He immediately pulled out his flame dragon armor summoner and activated the armor. Damn, where's Qi Zhao? Don't tell me he got killed in the first wave? No way. That guy's faster than a ghost. Wouldn't be weird if he just vanished. Wait, Wei Chu had a sudden epiphany. What if he ran away? Wei Chu slashed down a hammer-wielding thug and then saw a bolt of purple lightning tear through the air. That lightning looked familiar. It was Chief Dong Heizui. The chief's here? That means we've won for sure. Huh? Isn't that the chick who was just standing next to Qi Zhao? Why is she fighting the chief? Turns out she's a wanted criminal? And she's actually going toe-to-toe with Chief Dong Heizui? Who the hell is this woman? Holy shit, that's a huge dragon. The chief's going all out? Damn, she's cool as ever. Wait, what the hell is that? Holy fuck, that snake's massive. Is that a mythical beast? Not just Wei Chu, everyone present was shocked. As the phantom dragon breathed energy blasts, Wu Yu remained calm. With a flick of his sleeve, a small purple snake shot forth. Go, Bazi. Bazi grew in the wind, swelling from finger size to 5 meters thick and over 300 meters long in just 2 breaths, a towering giant serpent. At the same time, Bazi opened its massive mouth, unleashing a powerful suction force. The energy beam was sucked entirely into Bazi's belly. Burp. It even let out a playful burp. Dong Heizui snorted coldly. Love eating, huh? Let's see if you choke on it. The phantom dragon spewed energy blasts, one after another, without giving Bazi a chance to breathe. Dense white energy bullets poured down, engulfing the purple serpent in a flood of light. But when the light faded, The giant purple snake was completely unharmed. It was simply too huge. Huge enough that when it raised its neck and opened its jaws, it looked like it could swallow heaven and earth. That tremendous suction reappeared and the phantom dragon behind Dong Heizui was on the verge of being sucked in. Dong Heizui shouted angrily, and the dragon phantom solidified, just barely resisting the pull. While the dragon phantom wrestled the giant snake, Dong Heizui transformed into lightning again and shot forward. Her lightning-charged fist aimed straight at Wu Yu's head. Dong Heizui returned to her forte close-quarters combat. Wu Yu saw her coming and simply shook his head, helplessly. Even though I really don't want to kill you, you're too loyal. It makes things difficult. Wu Yu shook his head again, looking regretful. Screw it. You'll have to go. He opened the cloth pouch at his side, and a flurry of yellow talismans flew out, swirling around him. Chapter 229, Wu Yu defeats Dong Hai. Flame thieves block the king's arrival. Each of those yellow talismans had different characters written on them. They read things like auspicious, ominous, seal, bane, fire, thunder, wood, water, earth, and more. The ink color differed as well. For example, auspicious was red, ominous was black, and seal was white. Wu Yu casually picked one and stuck it to himself. It was a talisman marked with a red auspicious character. In the next moment, an invisible force of good fortune began spreading from his body. Dong Heizui narrowed her eyes slightly. Though she couldn't detect any change in Wu Yu's aura, her intuition warned her not to let her guard down. After all, this was the leader of the Freedom Organization. Lightning flickered fiercer around her fists, and her footwork sped up as well. Take him down, and that giant purple worm would be easy to crush. Then the phantom dragon would be free to deal with the damned criminals. Then she could go underground and reclaim control of the fortress. It all happened in a flash. Just as Dong Heizui's punch was about to land on Wu Yu, a figure suddenly flew in from the right. The figure landed right between Dong Heizui and Wu Yu. Judging by the uniform, it was a member of Orderly Heaven. If Dong Heizui didn't hold back, this guy would be blown away, or worse, only his head would be left flying. Seeing it was one of her own, Dong Heizui frowned and instantly turned her fist into a claw. She firmly caught the flying man and retreated, pulling him to safety. Was that just an accident? Maybe it was. Maybe not. The power of luck defied explanation. Coincidentally, after Wu Yu applied the auspicious talisman, far across the battlefield, a wanted criminal suddenly erupted, transforming into a 3-meter-tall grizzly. With a massive bear paw, he swatted a man in an Orderly Heaven uniform like a fly. And wouldn't you know it, he was sent flying straight into the open space between Dong Heizui and Wu Yu. Straight into their battlefield. And wouldn't you know it, he flew directly into Wu Yu's direction and blocked Dong Heizui's attack. Dong Heizui couldn't harm her own man, so she had no choice but to abandon her strike and save him instead. Wu Yu's luck quietly surged. Unseen, unspoken, and indescribable forces began influencing the outcome of the battle. 3 kilometers underground, in the fortress beneath their feet, a blonde lily had been lying around, bored, staring at the ceiling. Suddenly, she sensed tremors from the surface. She sat bolt upright, eyes gleaming. That thunder, that's Dong Heizui. She really came. I'm gonna go kill her. She was about to rush out of the base. The deadpan-faced guy quickly spread his arms and blocked her way. Boss didn't assign us to fight Dong Heizui. Move. That bitch killed my Natalie. I'm going to avenge her. Lin Jianyan glanced at Jinsha expressionlessly. Natalie was just a bullfrog you found by the river. And you sat on her by accident. Bullshit. Jinsha pointed and yelled at Lin Jianyan. If Dong Heizui hadn't thrown lightning and scared her, I wouldn't have sat on her by accident. So the real killer is her. It's her fault for throwing lightning around during the day. Lin Jianyan still had no expression. You didn't beat her last time. I don't believe you'll whine this time. You questioning my strength? Jinsha gripped her black scythe and tilted her chin at Lin Jianyan. Wanna spar? How long's it been since we last sparred? Seeing Jinsha glaring at Lin Jianyan, their peacekeeper Didi quickly stepped in. Little Lin's just joking. Are Jinsha taking on Dong Heizui? Please, that's light work, piece of cake. That last loss? Total fluke, right Jinsha? Jinsha nodded with full agreement. Exactly. A fluke. Didi stood between them, smiling as he continued, but Jinsha, let's not go for now, yeah? Don't forget what boss hates most. Lin Jianyan added calmly and on cue, disobeying orders. Acting without permission. Jinsha huffed, lifting her chin. If someone's matching Dong Heizui blow for blow, it's gotta be the boss himself. If you run up there now and get spotted by him, that's desertion. Jinsha scowled, threw down her scythe, and flopped back down. Fine, leave it to the boss. Lucky bastard. Didi let out a relieved sigh. With one playing good cop and one bad cop, they finally calmed her down. The battle above didn't last long, but the result shocked everyone. Dong Heizui lost. People on the orderly heaven side were shaken to the core. No way. The chief actually lost? In the chaos, everyone in orderly heaven who saw that moment was struck with fear. To them, Dong Heizui was the strongest force in orderly heaven, second only to the king. Chief of the capture unit. The muscular devil woman lost to some snake-handling talisman-wielding little Taoist. Dong Heizui's kapao was in tatters, but she still stood strong, refusing to fall. Her body was littered with yellow talismans. Some marked with ominous, some with seal, some with pain. Ominous made her unlucky, triggering frequent interruptions and disrupting her combat rhythm. Seal randomly locked down one of her skills. Bane delayed healing and made injuries linger. Meanwhile, Wu Yu's talismans were all things like auspicious, wood, and life. Auspicious made him lucky. Wood gave him high resistance to Dong Heizui's lightning damage. Life greatly boosted his recovery, healing as he fought. The reason Dong Heizui lost was simple: intelligence. When both sides were equally strong, the one with more info had the advantage. Wu Yu knew over 70% of Dong Heizui's skills, but she knew nothing about him. After all, this was the leader of the Freedom Organization, his first real appearance before Orderly Heaven. Before now, they only knew he existed. They had next to no intel on him. With Dong Heizui defeated, the phantom dragon she summoned was devoured by the giant purple snake Beizi. Though she had lost, her beautiful eyes still locked fiercely onto Wu Yu. No wonder he was their leader. His tactics were bizarre, unpredictable, and incredibly troublesome. And the worst part? The talisman stuck on her couldn't be removed. She had to wait for them to expire naturally, at which point they'd burn themselves away. What a cheat. Dong Heizui, just surrender. I really don't want to kill you. Wu Yu tried persuading her a second time, but Dong Heizui remained unmoved. Even though most of her abilities were sealed, she still had a powerful body. Seeing her battle intent grow stronger, not weaker, Wu Yu sighed helplessly. Then he raised a finger, and Beizi understood immediately. It opened its mouth wide and lunged at Dong Heizui. Just as it was about to swallow her whole, a man in white training clothes and gray cloth shoes appeared out of thin air. Though he looked young, he stood with hands clasped behind his back, calm and mature beyond his years. Wu Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. Wang. The man slowly raised his right index finger and gently tapped Beizi's forehead. That one light tap stopped Beizi's charge in its tracks. Keep in mind this was a 300-meter-long serpent. Standing before it, the man looked like a flea. And yet, this flea stopped it effortlessly. Not only that, the next second, Beizi's body exploded from the tail up. Chunks of meat blasted into the air as a rain of blood poured down. Wu Yu's eyes turned blood red, veins bulging. He immediately recalled Beizi. What was left, just 1/3 of Beizi, shrank into a tiny snake and darted back into Wu Yu's sleeve. If he'd been even a second slower, Beizi would have died on the spot. Impossible. What was this guy doing here? Wasn't he supposed to be stalled by that person? Did he get rid of them already? Before Wu Yu could figure it out, Wang had already raised his right hand and made a downward motion. A massive golden hand materialized in the sky without a physical body and slammed down toward Wu Yu. Like the Monkey King under Buddha's bomb, Wu Yu had nowhere to run. He was smashed into the ground, with only the top of his head visible. Then Wang turned his wrist and changed his hand into a claw. The golden hand pulled Wu Yu out of the ground and clenched him in its palm. Now Wu Yu looked like a toy in a child's grip. He coughed up blood, struggling violently, but couldn't break free. Wu Yu's face twisted in pain, and all the auspicious talismans on him burst into flame the moment Wang appeared. Damn it! Did using too many auspicious talismans trigger a karmic reset in luck? After all, a person's lifetime luck is a fixed sum. They say fate is fickle, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And an auspicious talisman was just borrowing good luck from the future. The total amount of good fortune doesn't change. Using it in advance means that once it runs out, misfortune quickly follows. All those ominous talismans used on Dong Heizui had the opposite effect. They brought her good luck ahead of time. Hey. Interesting, very interesting. Wu Yu was still struggling, trying to break free from the golden hand, but the king wasn't going to let him have his way. The golden hand clenched tightly without warning. Wu Yu's eyes bulged as his internal organs twisted and deformed. That's the king? The sudden appearance of the king left everyone, orderly heaven members and criminals alike, stunned. The king was like a dragon, his head seen, but his tail never. He rarely appeared in public. Even within orderly heaven, only some of the mid and upper level members had ever seen him. It really is the king, haha. The king actually came himself. Brothers, we've got this in the bag. Charge. With the king here, none of you are getting away. The people of Orderly Heaven immediately perked up, morale soaring. Meanwhile, the wanted criminals all looked miserable, panic spreading through their ranks. The king said nothing, only continued tightening the pressure on Wu Yu. Wu Yu began bleeding from all 7 orifices. Even the talismans on Dong Heizui began to spontaneously combust, one by one, burning away without fire. They had lost Wu Yu's control, now just useless scraps of paper. Dong Heizui's sealed abilities fully returned, and her strength surged back to its peak. She didn't rush to attack, but instead pulled out a healing potion and treated her injuries. Because she believed having the king was enough. Just then, a flash of white light brought a sudden change. A red train appeared in the sky. Suspended in midair, its 8 original cars all had their doors wide open. At the entrance of each car stood a figure. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly due to backlight. But just from their posture, it was obvious they were terrifyingly strong. It was the Flame Thieves Society. Just as Wu Yu was about to be crushed, a figure leapt from the train. With him came a streak of white light. The golden hand that Wu Yu couldn't escape no matter how he tried. 4 of its fingers were sliced clean off by that light. The severed fingers dissipated into particles of light and vanished into the air. Zhang Zuan held a long white sword in his right hand and cradled a near-dead Wu Yu in his left. He said softly, "Let him go." Zhang Zuan looked at the king and spoke calmly, "King, give me this one as a favor." The sword in his hand was pure white, its blade long and slender. According to him, he had acquired it by chance in the newbie village. But in truth, it was a reward from a special treasure chest he received as the top-performing trainee. The sword was called Killstop. For every life it took, it grew sharper and tougher. The stronger the target, the more the sword improved. There was no upper limit. How sharp had it become? Killstop could now slash open space itself. But the stronger Killstop became, the stricter the requirements for its wielder. Those without sufficient power would only end up harming themselves. At most, only 2 people present could wield Killstop. "Didn't expect you two to be so close." The king clasped his hands behind his back and said faintly, "Instead of going to paradise to grab silver coins, you came to save him." Zhang Zuan laughed heartily. "Of course I'm going to paradise. But before that, saving my dear ally on the way, what's the harm? Wouldn't you say so, king? Hey." The king let out a soft chuckle, as if he'd heard something funny. Dong Heizui's pupils contracted sharply when she saw Zhang Zuan appear. This man, he had once been her superior, her mentor, her comrade in arms. Now he stood opposite her, an unavoidable enemy. "Wait. Need to take the fortress." Wu Yu came to, touched Baizi curled in his sleeve. Despite its severe wounds, Baizi forced itself out again. This time, it was even larger than before. Zhang Zuan slashed his sword, the ground split open, revealing the hidden fortress below. The king and Dong Heizui moved to stop him, but Zhang Zuan blocked them with ease. Baizi opened its massive jaws and swallowed a spherical fortress 3 kilometers wide in one gulp. Then it rapidly shrank and slithered back into Wu Yu's sleeve through the air. Wu Yu gently stroked Baizi's head, heart aching, and let it rest and heal. With that done, Wu Yu passed out again. Zhang Zuan came in a flash and left just as fast. He took Wu Yu, returned to the train. The doors closed, white light flashed, and the train vanished. With Zhang Zuan and Wu Yu gone, the remaining wanted criminals stood frozen. When they finally realized what had happened, they shouted, "Fuck me. We've been sold out." Chapter 230, Post-Battle Reckoning. They hadn't even realized what had just happened. Because from the moment Zhang Zuan appeared to the moment he rescued Wu Yu, it had only been a matter of 10 seconds or so. By the time they came to their senses, only Wang and Dong Heizui were left. The fugitives scattered like startled birds. They all used their own skills to flee in every direction. Wang took one last look in the direction where Zhang Zuan's train had disappeared, then turned to look at Dong Heizui behind him. "Wang." Wang waved his hand. "If you're going to apologize, don't bother. I've got something to take care of. This is yours now." With that, Wang's figure vanished again. Dong Heizui bowed deeply toward where Wang had disappeared. If Wang hadn't shown up in time, she probably wouldn't have made it out alive. That strange talisman could actually seal off skills learned through skill cards. Dong Heizui had never encountered anything like it before. Without their skills, train conductors were basically no different from regular people. Dong Heizui still belonged to the group with strong physical power and speed. But with her skills sealed, all she could do was take hits. The leader of the Freedom Organization, Wu Yu. He really was a dangerous guy. She had just used a healing potion, and her injuries were already fully healed. Now that those yellow talismans weren't holding her back, her combat power was back at its peak. Cleaning up these worthless thugs was no big deal. Dong Heizui turned into lightning again, zipping across the battlefield, chasing down the deserters. With her joining the fight, the tide completely turned. How could they possibly outrun lightning? Very quickly, all those who didn't make it back to the train in time were knocked out cold by Donghei Izui. Then they were bound and restrained by members of Orderly Heaven. Wang reappeared this time, in the office of the chief enforcer of Pi City. Mond was startled by Wang's sudden appearance. He jumped up from his seat with a bang. Before Mond could say a word, Wang got straight to the point. Mond, you didn't pass my test. Wang's sapphire blue eyes locked onto Mond. Even though he was a head shorter, his presence completely overwhelmed him. Mond, under Wang's intense stare, couldn't help but swallow nervously. Wang shook his head, his tone full of disappointment. This was your last chance. You had it, and you blew it. Hearing this, Mond, chief enforcer of Pi City, stopped pretending. They both knew what was up. If Wang had came to him, that meant his betrayal had already been exposed. 2 days before the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Hex Gate, Wu Yu had come to him. Wu Yu had openly shown him his power and identity, and made his intention to cooperate clear. Wu Yu promised to weaken the strength of Orderly Heaven so they would no longer pose a threat to Jun. If Mond played along, they might even wipe out Orderly Heaven in one go. So Mond had given up the bunker location where the Hex Gate's energy generator was stored, the defensive setup inside the bunker, and even the backdoor admin access to remotely activate the Hex Gate. If there was anyone to blame now, it was himself for betting on the wrong side. He had underestimated Orderly Heaven, or rather, he had underestimated Wang's power. You dare. You outsiders will never take Zune. And you sure as hell won't take Pi City. The switch to the Hex Starlink is right here with me. Mond pounded his chest and said, if my heart stops beating, all the Hex Cloud bombs in Zune will detonate within half a quarter of an hour. Chapter 231, Isn't Zune a little too lively today? You won't get anything. Wang remained expressionless. Do you really think I care about those bombs? Even if you detonate the cloud bombs and raze Zune to the ground, we can still rebuild. The ones who truly suffer are the citizens. You're not doing this for Zune's sake. Wang took a step forward and said coldly, you're just afraid of losing the power in your hands. With that, Wang waved his hand, and something button-sized appeared in his palm. Take a look at this. Mond's expression at that moment, he looked like he was about to explode from shock. Because what Wang was holding was exactly the switch buried in his heart, the one that activates the Hex Starlink. Mond, I could kill you. Wang's face was still calm, showing no emotion. But I'm still willing to give you one more chance. When Wang said that, Mond's first reaction was that he must have misheard. You didn't hear wrong. I'm giving you one more chance. But this will be the last one. As Wang said that, Mond felt like the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. With a flick of Wang's hand, the Hex Starlink switch was returned to Mond's body. Then, between Wang's brows, a small red symbol appeared, a miniature emblem of Orderly Heaven. You can continue to hold your current power, and remain in the position of Director General. But you must swear allegiance to order. You will swear to follow order to the death, never betraying it. You will uphold justice and peace, driving out evil and darkness. You will be a supporter, enforcer, and follower of order. Only order can lead humanity to a bright future. Only order and light are eternal. Mond stared at the symbol of order on Wang's forehead, already slipping into a strange trance-like state. Meanwhile, at Yurden, by the Hex Gate. To conserve energy, they had temporarily shut down the Hex Gate. Ever since Donghei Izui took people away, Zhang Nan had been pacing back and forth on the platform, anxious. The updates from the battlefield behind them were full of twists and turns, making his mood swing wildly between hope and despair. Nice. We've taken back the train trading platform. These damn fugitives need to be slaughtered. Next, we take back the bunker control and reopen the Hex Gate. Then we can send our troops in bulk. Fugitives, all of you just die already. What? Donghei Izui got intercepted? By the Freedom Organization boss? He finally showed up? Donghei Izui lost to him? No way. Who? Who's spreading false intel? Wang went there? Then it's fine. Hearing that, Zhang Nan finally let out a sigh of relief. Even though he didn't like Donghei Izui, he didn't want to see her really get hurt either. Mainly because it'd be a disgrace to order. The dignified Director General of the capture unit under Orderly Heaven, losing to a mere leader of the Freedom Organization? If that got out, where would Order's reputation go? Hey, check me out. Is my hair messed up? Director General Zhang Nan, what are you doing? The man asked, confused. Wang's gone to Zune. That means Zune's about to be taken back. I gotta get ready, I am about to be assigned to Zune. After tidying his hair, Zhang Nan nodded in satisfaction. Nice, not messed up. But when he saw the latest update, he almost lost it again. What? The Flame Thieves Society showed up too? Fuck, Isn't Zune a little too lively today? Chapter 232, Backup Infiltration Plan. Zhang Zuan came to rescue the Freedom Boss? No way, the bunker got taken too? Then what the hell are we even doing here? Was it really Wang who went there? Could it be an impersonator? Wang should have skinned them alive at least. How could he let them leave so easily? Director General Zhang Nan, look at this. Just then, new intel came in. Zhang Nan looked at it, and his brows furrowed. The mayor, who was supposed to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony, had been found unconscious in the restroom. Her hands and feet were tied, and her mouth was gagged. She was discovered by none other than her secretary Taemin. According to Taemin, the mayor suddenly insisted on drinking vanilla coffee from Vanilla Street this morning, so she went to buy it. When she got back, she found the mayor passed out in the restroom. Before she had a chance to report it, an explosion went off outside. Then the signal was jammed, and the two of them hid in the restroom. Only after the battle ended were they rescued. The real Taemin was in June, so who was the one who came here posing as Taemin? I knew that woman was sketchy. The mayor suddenly gets diarrhea, then sends her secretary to cut the ribbon instead. How the hell does that make sense? Zhang Nan immediately contacted the team by the Hex Gate. Yes, it's me. This is Zhang Nan. Detain the woman in uniform. Don't let her get away. Yes, move fast. Just use the vault lock. After receiving confirmation that the suspect had been secured, Zhang Nan rushed out the door. Move out. Follow me and arrest her. Zhang Nan led a group of people and stormed out from backstage. Not long after Zhang Nan left, an elderly white-haired man lying to the side who had just coughed up blood slowly opened his eyes. He was the Hexgate's chief designer. Earlier, he had nearly passed out from sheer rage and was dragged backstage for basic treatment. The sentinel watching over him hurried over to help him up. Hey kid, where's the restroom around here? The sentinel gently helped him up and even thoughtfully brought him to the accessible restroom. Uncle, let me know if you need anything. With that, the sentinel stepped outside. Hey kid, come in and give me a hand. Hearing that the old man needed help, the sentinel turned back around. Alright, uncle. Old people just don't have the strength, always need someone to hold them up. Grumbling to himself, the sentinel opened the door. Alright uncle, I'm coming in. The moment the door opened, a hand yanked him inside. Then a palm strike knocked him out cold. The old man quickly pulled out a strand of the sentinel's hair and popped it into his mouth. In a flash, his build, face, and hairstyle morphed into the exact likeness of the sentinel. Then he swiftly stripped the sentinel's uniform and changed into it. He didn't head back the way he came, but instead walked straight toward the outer edge of the venue. He passed facial recognition, retinal scans, and ID checks at the exit all without a hitch. No one stopped him. Konyu looked up at the seasonal disk hovering in the sky, a chill creeping over her heart. She'd already had a taste of this thing when she ambushed Dream Palace last time. It wasn't pleasant. She hadn't expected to actually have to use the backup infiltration plan. Things over in Zune weren't going well. Konyu sighed inwardly. This was one of her most cherished disguise cards called the Imitator. As long as she consumed a strand of someone's hair, she could fully mimic their appearance and body shape. The real chief designer of the Hexgate, the old man, had already been subdued by Unoka Yunzi and quietly moved elsewhere. Chapter 233, Real Human Doll. But the Taemin that Zhang Nan and the others captured was actually just a prop. That prop was called the Real Human Doll. It could temporarily replicate a person and perform some simple actions and thinking. That's why Taemin seemed so clumsy and stiff during the ribbon cutting. Of course, it was just a hidden card to distract orderly heaven. If the mayor suddenly got diarrhea and someone else showed up to cut the ribbon, they'd definitely be suspicious. And that's how they'd overlook the real infiltrator. The old man who hadn't been replaced. Just as Konyu was about to walk through the final door, a hand suddenly landed on her shoulder. Konyu turned around. It was a member of orderly heaven dressed just like her who called out to her. Hey, Zhugzun, getting off work this early today? Konyu nodded but didn't answer rashly. Wanna grab lunch together? There's a new ramen shop over in the alley. Heard it's pretty good. Konyu glanced at him, furrowing her brows like she was feeling unwell. Not today, I've got a bit of a headache. Alright then, maybe next time. Konyu nodded and turned to walk out the final door. From beginning to end, even as she walked out of the seasonal disk's active zone, it didn't attack her. That thing wasn't being controlled, its intelligence just wasn't that high. Konyu entered a public restroom, and by the time she came out, she already looked completely different. Then she headed to a busier shopping mall, switching outfits several times during the move, blending right into Yurden. Chizhao hasn't messaged me back. He didn't get into trouble, did he? No, no way. That guy's slippery like an eel. He is too sly to get caught. Konyu tried to comfort herself. Meanwhile, on the stage at the Hex Gate ribbon-cutting ceremony, Taemon was trapped inside a silver iron cage. The cage was sealed from every angle, reinforced by binding laws. Talk. Who are you working for? What's your objective? Faced with Zhang Nan's interrogation, Taemon wore an innocent expression. Not talking, huh? That's fine. I've got plenty of ways to make you speak. With that, Zhang Nan started to unbuckle his belt. But right then, with a poof sound, a puff of white smoke burst from around Taemon's body. Her figure quickly shrank, reverting back to its original form. A palm-sized cloth doll. Everyone was stunned. What the? Body double technique? No way. That cage blocks all switching, teleporting, transmitting, and substitution abilities. Then what is this? Where's the real person? Where did they go? The guards surrounding the cage started talking all at once, but Zhang Nan, well-versed as he was, recognized it instantly. Frowning, he said coldly, that's a prop you can only get from a level 7 chest real human doll. At the same time, the sentinel in the bathroom who had been stripped by Kangyu was also discovered. When the report reached Zhang Nan, his lips pressed into a tight line, and then the corner of his mouth lifted. He let out a breathless laugh. Well. Who would have thought? The real infiltrator. Was that old man? Zhang Nan reached into the cage and picked up the real human doll from the ground. The item's usage had been fully depleted. Now it was just an ordinary cloth doll, no longer functional. Staring at the doll in his hand, Zhang Nan muttered, a power that can freely change appearance, huh? That reminded him of someone. Kangyu. That woman was always changing how she looked. And this time, she straight up became someone else. Chapter 234, Exposed? She even managed to evade the scan of the seasonal disc. To think she just waltzed right in under everyone's noses. What a move by the Freedom Organization, and what a woman, Kangyu. At that thought, Zhang Nan suddenly crushed the doll in his hand. Bits of cloth and cotton scattered all over the floor. Send out my order. Effective immediately, increase patrols and searches, extend the curfew hours. She infiltrated just to get into the paradise. But she has to stay in Yurden for a full 72 hours to qualify for entry into the paradise. 3 days from now, arrest and interrogate every single person who applies to enter the paradise. Until we find this person or confirm they've left Yurden, no one gets entry privileges again. Yes, sir. Upon receiving Zhang Nan's command, the team quickly dispersed. Damn it, Elsa, this woman has a third eye and still didn't notice anything wrong? But she sure disappeared fast after things went south. Not that Zhang Nan had much of a say in it. After all, Elsa was the head of HR. She was never meant to be on the front lines or in combat. Everything depends on me. Without me, this place would fall apart sooner or later. Just then, the figure of Wang appeared. Zhang Nan was stunned on the spot. Wang? Before he could even react, Wang reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Zhang Nan's vision blurred, and in the next moment, he found himself in Mon's office. Mon saw Zhang Nan and immediately bowed with respect, loudly declaring, "Greetings, Director Zhang Nan. Welcome to Pi City." Zhang Nan pointed at Taemon, looking at Wang in total confusion. In his mind, Wang should have already taken care of Zoan and handled her. But clearly, things didn't go as expected. Wang nodded toward Mond and calmly spoke, "Starting today, Zoan will also begin inspecting incoming trains. The detailed procedures, protocols, and staff training you're responsible for teaching him. Remember, don't use our own people. Use only locals from Zoan." Since Wang had made the call, Zhang Nan had no choice but to comply. Train him well. He's already sworn allegiance to order. Upon hearing that, Zhang Nan managed a congratulatory expression on the surface, but inside he was cursing. All high-level officials in orderly heaven were required to swear an oath to the emblem of order, an oath of eternal loyalty. Only then would they be entrusted with real power. Everyone who took that oath would die to protect order, without exception. Until that man showed up. The former director of the capture unit, now the leader of the Flame Thieves Society, and orderly heaven's top-level wanted criminal Zhang Xuan. He was the first, and so far the only one, to betray order after taking the oath. Of course, the public had no idea about any of this. Only those who had sworn to the emblem of order knew. Zhang Nan glanced at Mond, the newest addition to order, and doubts crept into his mind. If Mond had taken the oath, that meant Wang intended to use him. Zhang Nan had originally thought that all the inspectors in Zoan would be under his command. But now it seemed Wang had no such plan. Was it that he didn't want Zhang Nan holding too much power? So he wasn't giving him control over Zoan? Or perhaps picking such a puppet figure was Wang's way of controlling Zoan less overtly. The truth now was, Zoan had already fallen under orderly heaven's control. But on paper, it was still run by locals from Pi City. Teach Mond? Whatever. I'll just go through the motions. When he screws things up, Zoan will face more problems, and I'll end up taking over anyway. Hey. After all, who else but me can do this job right? Understood, Wang. I'll share my experience and methods with Director Mond. Zhang Nan replied respectfully, his expression unreadable. By the way, Wang. One more thing just now, Zhang Nan informed Wang about the incident involving the fake Hexcape chief designer sneaking into Yurden. Wang nodded slowly after hearing it. Handle it however you see fit. And with that, Wang left. Zhang Nan felt puzzled. Wang didn't seem to react much to this situation. Director Zhang Nan, what's our first step? Zoan has never inspected incoming trains before. Simple. Just start. Mon nodded repeatedly as he listened, agreeing to everything. 3 days later, Mon delivered a public speech in downtown Pi City. We've always shared a spirit of mutual support and cooperation with Yurden. The Hexcape project is the best proof of that. But this great diplomatic milestone was sabotaged by those damn fugitives. His tone was passionate, full of righteous anger toward the criminals. Therefore, starting today, Zoan will also conduct inspections on incoming trains. If anyone refuses to cooperate, we have the right to take action. We will show no mercy to the fugitives who threaten our home. We deeply mourn the citizens who were injured or killed in this tragedy. Train inspections cannot be delayed. Everyone must remember prevention is always better than trying to fix things after the fact. The citizens of Pi City responded with enthusiasm, all in favor of inspecting and reporting on train traffic. Regarding this heinous attack, I must thank Orderly Heaven. They were the ones who helped us repel the evil intruders and defend our home. Especially their leader Wang. It was he who drove away those dangerous fugitives and invaders. It was he who protected our beautiful city. It was he who let us see the sun again today. Come, let's all shout his name together. The atmosphere was electric. With prearranged personnel in the crowd leading the chant, the citizens of Pi City raised their fists and joined in. Wang! 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 Backstage, Zhang Nan stood there in a daze. Bro, what the hell? This isn't the script I gave you. This wasn't part of the plan, right? Listening to Mon's speech, Zhang Nan's brows furrowed slightly. He had only casually thrown together a script for Mond, but Mond ended up adding quite a bit of his own material. Especially all that praise for Orderly Heaven and Wang, it sounded almost heartfelt. This guy. Is he really that naive, or is he just pretending? Zhang Nan muttered internally. He had thought Mond was just a puppet, but now it seemed Mond wasn't so simple after all. After the speech, Mond stepped down from the stage and walked straight over to Zhang Nan, wearing a modest smile. Director Zhang Nan, what did you think of my speech just now? Any feedback for improvement? Mond asked. Not bad. Zhang Nan glanced at him and replied flatly, but the next time, stick to the script I give you. Don't improvise. Mond nodded, still smiling. Yes, you're right, Director Zhang Nan. But I thought, since we want people to accept the train inspections, we should help them understand it's for their own safety. So I added a few things. Zhang Nan was speechless. All he added were brown-nosing lines. On the other hand, Qi Zhao, who was sitting nearby, had a smile on his face. I thought Director Mon's speech was great, very passionate. Haha, you flatter me, Captain Qi. It's mostly thanks to Director Zhang Nan's help with the speech. I should really be thanking him. Director Zhang Nan is truly gifted at writing reports. Qi Zhao nodded in agreement. Director Zhang Nan, maybe sometime you can teach me how to write reports too? Zhang Nan felt a headache coming on. Just thinking about what happened 3 days ago still felt like a dream. He even considered slapping himself. If it could wake him up, that'd be perfect. Back to the present. After briefing Mond on the general inspection procedures, Zhang Nan asked, the drones you deployed, those should have been uploading real-time footage to the cloud, right? At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Pi City had drones set up with HD cameras to monitor everyone on site in real time. The footage they captured was uploaded to the cloud every 30 seconds. Zhang Nan already had a rough idea of what had happened earlier, but it was all through text updates. Due to the distance between the two public stations, effective communication was limited. The easiest way was through the train's chat function. But with the chaos on site, text was the only way to get updates out quickly, so all of Zhang Nan's info had come in that form. He still didn't know what Wu Yu looked like or how exactly she took down Dong Hei Izui. We did. But right before the invasion, the drones were hacked. Then there was an explosion and a signal jamming bomb, so only the footage before the infiltration made it to the cloud. And those fugitives only appeared after we used the signal jamming bomb, so the cloud might not have any video of them. Zhang Nan paused in thought and sat down in Mond's chair. Doesn't matter. Just pull it up. Mond had no choice but to come over and retrieve the video files. As he logged in and initiated a series of retrieval commands, the drone footage previously uploaded to the cloud appeared before Zhang Nan. This many. Looking at the massive number of videos, Zhang Nan frowned. There were over 4,000 spectators at the scene. Each one had a drone assigned for facial recognition and fixed-point monitoring. So yeah. Mon spread his hands, indicating there was nothing he could do about it. Zhang Nan wasn't discouraged. He pulled out his claw phone and called Donghei Izui. Alright, okay. After hanging up, Zhang Nan said, "You must have a search function, right?" "Yep. Clothing, appearance, and prosthetics can all be used as search filters." "Good." Zhang Nan had called Donghei Izui to find out Wu Yu's appearance and clothing details. Following Zhang Nan's input, Mon typed in some keywords related to Wu Yu's look and outfit. The search was lightning fast. Soon, only one video file remained on the desktop. When Zhang Nan saw the handsome young Taoist in gray robes with a ponytail, his eyes widened in disbelief. He never imagined the leader of the Freedom Organization would look like some little girl. Well. Truly worthy of leading the Freedom Organization. What nerve! Pretending to be an ordinary citizen and sneaking in to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony from the very start. There were a full 57 minutes of crystal-clear, close-up footage of him on the cloud. As for the later combat footage, of course, there was none. The more Zhang Nan thought about how he'd been watching what he assumed were his own people on stage, the more furious he became. Wait a second. That guy next to him looks familiar. When Zhang Nan saw Chi Zhao chatting and laughing with Wu Yu in the footage, he froze. Isn't that the brat from the capture unit whose report was full of holes? One of the two special recruit rookies who didn't get their badge stolen this year. Zhang Nan's meticulous nature kicked in. He immediately pulled out his claw phone and opened the personnel assignment sheet he'd created earlier. Bingo. It was him. Assigned to Zone C3 in the regular section Chi Zhao. Zhang Nan instantly dragged the video back to the beginning and began watching it frame by frame. He saw Wu Yu enter and immediately waved to Chi Zhao. He saw the two of them talking and laughing, watching the ceremony together. Like longtime friends. He also saw that when the drone exploded, Chi Zhao grabbed Wu Yu and ran toward the exit. Then the footage cut off. Nothing after that. Zhang Nan's lips curled into a smirk, nodding furiously. Well. Never expected it. A member of Orderly Heaven's capture unit, this closely tied to the leader of the Freedom Organization. Unacceptable. I knew this brat was hiding something. Turns out he's been mingling with the Freedom types. Wait, that's not right. He should have known about the drones and their surveillance function. Then why would he act so chummy with the leader of the Freedom Organization? Could it be he doesn't know Wu Yu's real identity either? No matter what, the fact remains, the two of them know each other. This needs to be investigated thoroughly. He immediately took some screenshots of Chi Zhao and Wu Yu together to send to Donghei Izui. Just then, a head suddenly poked in. What are you snapping pictures of? Zhang Nan jumped up from his seat in a flash. Wang. I thought you left. Nope, just got thirsty and went to grab a drink. Wang was holding a cup of Alotino ice, 30% sugar. He took a sip and shifted his gaze to the screen. Oh, it's him. Meanwhile, at the Zoan Hex Gate battlefield with Donghei Izui joining in, the battle had already ended. Wei Chu's flame dragon armor had also just run out of duration. Unlike the others cleaning up the battlefield or handling prisoners, he was searching for Chi Zhao. But the whole battlefield was nearly cleared. The captured fugitives had been relocated, the corpses gathered and moved. Soon, the place would be completely cleaned up and still, no sign of Chi Zhao. Crap. Where the hell did that guy go? That little Taoist with him turned out to be a fugitive. And not just any fugitive, one strong enough to overpower Director Donghei Izui. If people found out Chi Zhao was close with a fugitive like that, he'd be toast. Wei Chu was sweating bullets. Damn it, where is he? Chi Zhao, where the hell did you run off to? Could he be working with those people too? No way. He was with me, he's one of ours. Chapter 235, Hurry up and run. Because of the signal jamming grenade just now, the wireless signal in this area still hadn't recovered. That also rendered his claw phone useless. Wei Chu clutched the claw phone, sprinting wildly in one direction. He would occasionally stop to check if the signal had come back. Damn it, I need to get out of this jam zone fast and contact Chi Zhao. Where the hell did that guy run off to? Meanwhile, over at the train trading platform, the people from Orderly Heaven were also cleaning up the battlefield. Donghei Izui left behind Team 5 to wrap things up, a total of 600 people. Although quite a few were injured during the fight, thanks to the healing potions, everyone had already been treated. But after tallying up, 48 people still unfortunately lost their lives. After all, The desperate counterattacks of the wanted criminals before death were terrifying. They knew they wouldn't make it out, so they tried to take someone down with them. Those people paid the price. After the battle ended, Chi didn't stay to help with cleanup. He returned to his own train. Now that things were safe, he deactivated the dynamic cloak and electromagnetic shield. The originally invisible train reappeared. With the gunfire outside gone and Chi back, Lao Yu and the others' new order had won this round. Everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lao Yu and Li Huizi were both safe and sound now. Only Zai still had a swollen bump on her head. Ow, ow. Seeing Zai rolling on the bed clutching her head, Chi reached out and felt it more swollen than before. With a helpless look, Chi took out a basic healing potion and handed it to Zai. Once the potion went down, the bump on Zai's head visibly began shrinking. At the same time, Chi took out the bonded ring. With everything that had just happened, he had to ask Kong Yu what was going on. Only then did Chi realize Kong Yu had actually sent him a sticky note this morning. But back then, he'd been outside and surrounded by people, and he wasn't wearing the ring. So he had no idea. The sticky note only had 4 characters, stay safe. Chi read it and destroyed it right away. Fuck, you caused all this chaos and then tell me to stay safe? So your cargo following plan really was cancelled, only to swap in something even crazier. If I'd known it would turn out like this, I would have dumped the train in some remote wasteland. At least then I wouldn't have become everyone's target. He thought this place would be safe, never imagined the wanted criminals would be this bold. They actually launched a full-scale attack. Must have really lost their minds trying to steal a train. With a thud, Zai jumped off the bed. She rubbed her head. Finally, it didn't hurt anymore. Those damn bastards. Talking about overthrowing order, but really just looting for free. No wonder they're wanted criminals. Chi, you guys at Orderly Heaven are impressive, though. Definitely a big organization. Too bad the support took a bit too long. If it weren't for the 3 of us, your train would have been toast. Zai stood with her hands on her hips, looking smug as hell. Like she'd made a huge contribution defending the train and felt proud of it. Even if the artillery carriage got blown in half. Thank you all. Chi looked sincerely at the 3 of them. Thank you. You. Cut it out, you're giving me goosebumps. But Captain, the train still got messed up by them. It's my fault I didn't protect it well enough. It's fine. We can fix it. Really? Hearing that the train could be repaired, Lao Yu's eyes lit up. Of course. After all, that's the carriage the vice captain won back. Awesome. Captain, you're amazing. Chi smiled. He needed to hurry and reach level 40 to unlock the auto repair module. Or he could just pay up and get a level 40 expert to log in and help fix it. Every 3 days, a level 40 expert would visit the train trading platform to repair trains that needed fixing. Like Chi train, which had been split in half, the damage could definitely be reversed. Actually, Chi train had only been broken at the artillery carriage. The other compartments were completely intact. Unlike Wei Chu's train on the other side, which had been torn to shreds in the chaos. 2 of his train cars had their roofs ripped clean off. Even an external hidden water tank got hit and was leaking like crazy. That thing would definitely need repairs too. But hey, that should count as a workplace injury, right? Just report it and get it repaired for free. Speaking of which, I wonder how things are going on Wei Chu's end. But with Donghei Izui over there, the battlefield probably got steamrolled. She is the head of the Orderly Heaven capture unit, after all her combat strength is top tier. Oh right, Kong Yu might be over there too. Would those 2 end up fighting? Last time Kong Yu's tone made it sound like she could take out Donghei Izui no problem. Not sure if she was just bragging or if she actually has the chops. Just then, Chi Zhao's claw phone rang. It was Wei Chu. Speak of the devil. Did the fight over there end? Or maybe the signal's back? Or he just left the jamming zone? Either way, if he could call, he probably wasn't in danger anymore. The moment the call connected, Wei Chu's voice exploded like thunder. Hey, Chi Zhao. Where the hell are you? Wait. Don't talk yet. No one's around you, right? Chi Zhao looked at Lao Yu and the others. There are. What's up? Then go somewhere private, quick. What's with the mystery? Chi Zhao stepped into the empty carriage next door. Alright, no one here. What's up? Time's tight, mission's urgent. I'll keep it short, so listen carefully. This morning, we ate those buns together, then went out on that security mission, right? Well, those buns were full of tech. Had me running to the toilet non-stop. If you hadn't given me that antidote, I probably wouldn't have made it today. Wei Chu rambled for about 3 minutes before finally getting to the part about the battle. When Chi Zhao heard what happened after he left, his pupils shrank. Wu Yu turned out to be a wanted criminal? And he fought Donghei Izui? The kicker Dong Heizui couldn't beat him? Then some white-haired kid showed up and beat Wu Yu to a pulp. And then a train suddenly appeared in the sky, someone got out and rescued Wu Yu. Wait, trains can park in the sky now. What kind of modification is that? Before leaving, Wu Yu even took some massive fortress with him? Damn, it was wild over there. Total boss battle extravaganza. And Konyu didn't show up? Such a huge scene, how could she not? Wei Chu kept yelling on the other end, is that guy your little sweetheart or what? You better fucking run now. If they find out, you're screwed. While everyone's still busy and not paying attention, get out of there. And don't come back till I say it's safe. Whatever you wanna eat, I'll buy it and send it your way. Chi Zhao was speechless. Run? What for? It's not like I did anything wrong. Who knew Wu Yu would turn out to be a wanted criminal? Are you listening? Go lay low for a bit. Where should I go? Anywhere. Just leave that place. Wait a second, who are you? Wei Chu paused, realizing it wasn't Chi Zhao talking. I'm Wang. And who are you? Wang? Then I'm the Emperor. Hearing that voice nearby, Chi Zhao's pupils shrank. He slowly turned his head to look at the person. The guy was a whole head shorter than him. Wearing a white martial arts outfit, long white hair flowing, bright blue eyes irradiated an extraordinary presence. Next to him stood another man, lean-faced with thin lips. He wore an orderly heaven uniform and looked sharp and upright. Chi Zhao had just seen this man that morning. He was Zhong Nan, the one who attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Hex Gate. Orderly Heaven's Chief Inspector General. So this white-haired young man was the one Wei Chu mentioned who came in to save the day? Wang. Could he be the leader of Orderly Heaven? But he didn't look very old at all. Aside from the white hair, he didn't even have a single wrinkle on his face. From the claw phone, Wei Chu's voice was still breaking in and out. Hey. You there? Chi Zhao, are you alright? Hey. That Wang guy or whoever, you listen up. Don't you lay a hand on him. Or I swear I won't let this slide. Chi Zhao looked helpless. I'm fine. But you might not be in a second. With that, Chi Zhao hung up the call. Then he turned and politely greeted the two, Chief Zhong Nan, hello. Zhong Nan nodded coldly. And this is? Just call me Wang, Wang said with a smile, looking at Chi Zhao. Before they came, Zhong Nan had already given Wang a dramatically exaggerated rundown of all the issues with Chi Zhao. Including, but not limited to, his apparent close ties with the Freedom Organization leader, Wu Yu. And his vague and incomplete mission reports, which left out a lot of critical details. While talking about the reports, he even hinted that Dong Heizui was lax in discipline and ineffective at supervision. But after hearing the whole report, Wang didn't get angry. Instead, he grew interested in Chi Zhao. Fifth batch recruit, didn't get tricked into giving up his special recruit badge, took down the Huang LV Hung arms dealing group in 2 days, and even killed Hidden Thread, one of the Pingjing 9 thieves. Such impressive achievements in a newcomer were definitely something special. Wang was reminded of someone. Zhang Zuan, back in the day. Also started young, full of spirit, dazzling and outstanding. Zhong Nan added at the right moment, you haven't met Wang before, so it's normal you don't recognize him. Wang was originally supposed to host a meeting for your batch of special recruits, but with all the wanted criminals acting up lately, that meeting was cancelled. So it really is him. Hearing Zhong Nan's words, Chi Zhao clenched his right hand into a fist and placed it over his heart, giving Wang a slight bow as he raised his voice and said, so you're Wang. I've long heard of your great name. Meeting you today truly extraordinary. Being part of Orderly Heaven has always felt like a once-in-a-lifetime honor. Under your leadership, Order will definitely lead the people toward a brighter future. Wang normally didn't show much expression, and only smiled once earlier when he saw Chi Zhao. Now, hearing Chi Zhao's flattering words, he actually started nodding and smiling repeatedly. Zhong Nan, on the other hand, looked completely speechless. After Chi Zhao greeted Wang, Zhong Nan pulled out his claw phone with a cold face and held it in front of Chi Zhao. Tell me, when did you meet this guy? Where did you meet, and how? On the phone, it was naturally a photo of him and Wu Yu chatting in the spectator stands. Thanks to Wei Chu's warning, Chi Zhao already had an idea of what was going on. I do know him. It was earlier, when I received a mission from Chief Dong Heizui to go to Zun and apprehend a group of arms dealers. After the mission, I went to Moonlight Alley for dinner and ran into him there. Chi Zhao recounted the whole encounter with Wu Yu in detail, without holding anything back. Because honestly, there wasn't anything to hide. He had only just found out Wu Yu was a wanted criminal. Wang nodded after listening. Zhong Nan, however, furrowed his brows. It really didn't sound like there was a problem. Even if their encounter was filled with coincidences, it was still within reason. Of course, deep down, Zhong Nan also understood. Chi Zhao definitely hadn't known Wu Yu was a wanted man, let alone the leader of the Freedom Organization. After all, they themselves had only found out today. In fact, whether or not Qi Zhao knew Wu Yu's real identity wasn't the point. Zhang Nan was really targeting Dong Heizui. Ever since she became the head of the capture unit, Dong Heizui had relied on her overwhelming strength and behaved arrogantly. And over the years, because of her close relationship with Wang, she basically become the de facto number 2 under Wang. She needed to be put in her place. Plus, she just lost to Wu Yu perfect opportunity to knock her down a peg. Speak of the devil. At that moment, a bolt of purple lightning struck down from the sky outside. It was Dong Heizui. Due to her dramatic entrance, the captain of Team 5 quickly rushed over to report the situation. When she heard that Qi Zhao had held the area by himself, Dong Heizui's long, heroic eyebrows arched slightly. I checked the surveillance footage and realized he was one of us from Order. Only Order members could have their trains sent here for free maintenance and cleaning. Chief, is he part of our capture unit? His face is unfamiliar. I don't think I've seen him before. Dong Heizui smiled slightly. He's new. You wouldn't have seen him. A rookie? Don't tell me he's one of the 2 special recruits? Dong Heizui nodded. No wonder. No wonder he was able to take down the Black Tyrant Rex and the Shadow Killer. Those 2 are both notorious level 2 wanted criminals. Thanks to him, our cleanup went super smoothly. Chief, you wouldn't believe it, before we got here, the area was swarming with wanted criminals. He and his crew held it down. Not a single Order train was lost. Today's young people, seriously impressive. Hearing that, Dong Heizui smiled and said, you all did great too. Keep up the good work. Just as she finished speaking, Dong Heizui vanished on the spot. Wang had directly teleported her into Qi Zhao's train. Wang really was already here. Even though she had moved fast, she was still much slower than him. After receiving the photo from Zhang Nan and the message from Wang, she had rushed to the train trading platform immediately. Chapter 236, Secret Struggle. Because she had just seen Qi Zhao here. One of their own, turning out to be acquainted with the leader of the Freedom Organization. This matter wasn't too big, but not exactly small either. After all, no one had known who the Freedom Organization's leader was before this. Qi Zhao couldn't possibly have known. Otherwise, why would he leave such an obvious handle for others to grab onto? She only worried that someone might blow it out of proportion and use the chance to sling mud. At that thought, she calmly glanced at Zhang Nan. Chief Dong Hai. Upon seeing Dong Heizui, Qi Zhao greeted her immediately. Dong Heizui nodded in acknowledgement. So you've finally arrived. Zhang Nan's heart lit up when he saw Dong Heizui. Chief Dong Hai, are you alright? Looks like you've just come out of a brutal fight. Indeed, while Dong Heizui's wounds had healed, her tattered hippo still showed how intense the previous battle had been. Didn't die. Dong Heizui replied coldly. If it were you, you'd probably already be on your way to cremation. Zhang Nan. Well, I am a civil officer, after all. Then grip your pen tightly and spare us the snide remarks. Dong Heizui didn't give Zhang Nan an inch. She was always ready to spar with him. Zhang Nan wasn't upset, still smiling politely. Chief Dong Hai is right. It's just a pity that you arrived a bit late. Zhang Nan reached out and patted Qi Zhao on the shoulder. Our young comrade here just finished recounting how he met Wu Yu. How about this, Qi Zhao, why don't you briefly go over it again so Chief Dong Hai can hear it and feel assured? Dong Heizui gave Zhang Nan a sideways glance and said, no need. As long as Wang knows, that's enough. There's still a huge mess outside waiting to be cleaned up. We've got work to do. Oh, those things can be left to the subordinates. This won't take more than a few minutes. Don't you think so, Qi Zhao? Qi Zhao turned to Zhang Nan, grinned through gritted teeth, and said, I'll listen to Chief Dong Hai. Dong Heizui nodded with satisfaction. Go on then. Help them clean up the battlefield. Understood, Chief Dong Hai. Qi Zhao let out a sigh of relief and lifted his legs to leave. Just as he was about to exit the train car, Zhang Nan called out with a gloomy face, wait. I've got a question. Just curious. Damn this Zhang Nan. Though Qi Zhao was fuming inside, his face remained calm. He turned around with a smile. Chief Zhang Nan, what would you like to ask? Feel free. Zhang Nan raised his wrist and glanced at his watch, murmuring, it's 10:11. The battle just ended not long ago. But you weren't at the main venue. You were here instead. Qi Zhao, you didn't take part in the battle over there? Qi Zhao froze for a second, then answered calmly, that's right. I didn't participate in the battle over there. So you ran? A member of Orderly Heaven, upon seeing wanted criminals, chooses to run instead of fighting? You're not a civil clerk, you're frontline combat personnel, part of the capture unit, the pride of order. Fuck, this old man is trying to guilt-trip me with lofty ideals? True, when the battle broke out, Qi Zhao did bolt. But hey, those older members were out there risking their lives. What did that have to do with him? All he needed to do was protect his people and his train. That was enough. But of course, Zhao couldn't say that. Otherwise, he'd lose all moral high ground. While he was thinking of how to respond, Dong Heizui stepped forward. Chief Zhongnan, I was the one who ordered Zhao to return. Though her skirt was torn, her expression remained firm and heroic. In the entire train trading platform, only Orderly Heaven didn't lose a single train. You think that was just luck? Was it those salespeople? Was it the security guards? The inspectors? It was him. Dong Heizui raised her hand and gave Zhao a pat on the shoulder. Zhao, you did great. As expected from someone in my capture unit. Ah, right. Zhao immediately added, it's mainly because Chief Dong Hai foresaw the situation and specifically instructed me if anything happened, I was to immediately fall back and defend this location. After all, this too is the pride of Orderly Heaven. Zhao understood why Dong Heizui had spoken up for him. He wasn't stupid. Zhong Nan, a chief inspector general, had no reason to be gunning for a newbie who'd just joined and had no official post. His real target was always Dong Heizui. Zhao was merely a pawn caught in the middle to stir up trouble. So that's how it is. Chief Dong Hai, you should have said so earlier. Had me thinking our people ran from battle. So it was all just a misunderstanding. Zhong Nan didn't mind at all, instead brushing it off with a laugh before shifting the topic. But I am curious if I remember correctly, the ribbon-cutting venue was 176 kilometers from here. Even with the fastest and most convenient transport in Zune, it would take at least an hour. How did you get back so fast? This guy just won't let go. Just a little trick, not worth mentioning. Zhao replied with a smile. A little trick? You really do have quite a few little tricks. He then turned to Dong Heizui, Chief Dong Hai, you must have known about this trick, right? Otherwise, why assign him such a task? Not good. This guy was as sly as they come. I can't let Chief Dong Hai defend me and end up getting cornered. Zhao immediately declared, of course. Chief Dong Hai knew I had the anchor point rewind, that's why she assigned me this secret mission. Dong Heizui let out a breath of relief upon hearing that. She had no clue what method Zhao used to return so quickly. She wasn't a mind reader. What shocked her even more was that Zhao's trick was actually a special module anchor point rewind. That was the same level as her own with You Through Worlds module. And he just casually blurted it out. Zhong Nan had clearly seen through her attempt to smooth things over and help both herself and Zhao save face, which was why he asked that question. But Zhao's response was swift. He'd rather reveal that he had a special module than let her take the hit alone. They would preserve each other's dignity together. Dong Heizui looked at Zhao with newfound appreciation. That's right. Special module, anchor point rewind. It allows you to set an anchor point within a train and return to it instantly, ignoring all rules of the world. There's no faster way to fall back. Zhao also let out a breath of relief. Everyone here was an adult. They picked up on cues quickly, and that made conversations much smoother. With their tag team explanation, Zhong Nan found himself at a loss for words. Faced with how naturally they played off each other, he even started to wonder if it was all true. Just as they claimed something prearranged. If only Wang would use his honest mirror. He'd know in a flash whether they were lying. But he couldn't. Not when reputations were at stake. Requesting use of the honest mirror against the chief of the capture unit from Order's 1st Division? That'd be going nuclear. Still, he wasn't about to let them off so easily. Zhong Nan hadn't forgotten his goal to chip away at Dong Heizui's sharp edge. Yet here he was, the one getting put on the back foot. Unacceptable. He had to regain ground. So it was anchor point rewind. That's not a little trick at all, Zhao, you're way too modest. Zhao smiled and replied, Chief Dong Hai often teaches me that modesty is a virtue. So she told me not to expose that I had this module. Zhong Nan nodded. That's right. Young man, modesty is indeed a virtue. But too much modesty becomes arrogance. And your mission reports after each assignment, those better be written properly. Last time, I happened to glance at one of your reports and found it extremely concise. It almost just said mission report and nothing else. That's really not okay. We have to do the work well, and the report even better, don't you agree? Yes, Chief Zhong Nan, you are absolutely right. Zhao could tell Zhong Nan was just taking jabs. What he said was directed at Dong Heizui, both openly and between the lines. After following along with Zhong Nan's comment and leaving him no room to continue, Zhao turned to Dong Heizui and voiced his stance. I'm sorry, Chief Dong Hai. I'm not very bright, just good at the work, not so much at writing reports. I embarrassed you. I promise I'll write my reports properly from now on. I'll learn from Chief Jongnan and make them nice and polished. Dong Heizui nodded, holding back a smile. Jongnan, meanwhile, looked like he had swallowed a turd. Chi Zhao had apologized sincerely and even pledged to improve, writing better reports. That put him squarely on the moral high ground. Chi Zhao stood in the right position. Jongnan couldn't find any rebuttal for the moment. This guy, was he born with a natural talent for being a perfect subordinate? Fuck. Alright, go ahead and get back to work. I have something to report to Wang. Yes, sir. Chi Zhao saluted and turned to leave the train car. That damn Jongnan seriously needs a beating. One day, I'll settle the score. What is it? Wang had been quietly watching this whole little drama, not interrupting either of them. I bring bad news. Captain Kingshan, stationed at Zun's capture unit subdivision, died bravely in battle just now. By the time I got there, he was already gone. He gave his life to defend the subdivision building. To protect the emblem of order that hangs atop that building. At this point, Dong Heizui's voice dropped lower. Aside from the train trading platform, the largest number of wanted criminals had gone to the capture unit subdivision. Those who attacked there were doing it purely for revenge against order. They were all old enemies. Which meant those enemies were better trained and better prepared. Unlike the ones at the trading platform, who were mostly just opportunistic looters. They came here just to get a piece of the pie to hijack a train or two. Kingshan. Wang nodded. I remember that kid. He was an honest one. The subdivision here in Zun is important. We need someone like Kingshan, capable, and with a strong sense of duty. Wang smiled and said, from the way you're speaking, it sounds like you already have someone in mind? Yes. Dong Heizui answered seriously, I want to recommend Chi Zhao as the new captain of the capture unit's Zun subdivision. No way. Anyone else, fine, but definitely not him. Jongnan immediately jumped in and objected loudly. He began laying out his reasons. Let's set aside whether he has management experience or enough qualifications for now. Wang, just the fact that he knows the Freedom Organization's leader, he's already disqualified from being captain. We're about to issue a warrant for Wu Yu. There were tons of witnesses at the scene. If word gets out that the two of them already knew each other, do you realize how bad that would look? I recall the original deputy captain, Liu Yang, was pretty good. Has seniority, clean background, more convincing as a leader. Way better than some rookie parachuted in, possibly tied to a wanted criminal. Seeing no one respond, Jongnan continued, besides, we don't even know if what he just said was true. What if he did know Wu Yu's real identity, and used our assumptions against us to put on this whole act? People would naturally think, no way he'd leave such an obvious clue, and that's exactly what they'd exploit. Wang shook his head and dismissed Jongnan's theory. That won't happen. Zhang Zuan and the others aligned with them probably already know I have the honest mirror. And there's also Elsa, she can detect if a memory's been altered. They wouldn't risk something so low level. Wang made a valid point, leaving Jongnan speechless. He couldn't exactly contradict Wang directly. Dong Heizui sneered, Liu Yang is okay, sure. But the thing is, he's not a train conductor. My team captain has to be a warrior who can command the field. Not some pencil-pushing civil officer holed up in an office. You. Jongnan, I know exactly why you're pushing for Liu Yang. It's because he's from the Liu family, isn't it? This time, Dong Heizui dropped the honorifics and called him by name. Liu Yang. If it weren't for his halfway decent management skills, my capture unit wouldn't even have taken him in. Let alone promoted him to deputy captain. Jongnan's face turned as black as coal at those words. Wang quickly stepped in, that's enough. The two of them sensed Wang was displeased and both lowered their heads in silence. Wang looked to Jongnan and asked, before this, did you know Wu Yu was the leader of the Freedom Organization? I didn't. And you? Did you know? Wang turned to Dong Heizui. I didn't. Wang spread his hands and smiled, see? None of us knew. And Chi Zhao didn't know either, so what's the big deal? With Wang's clear stance, Jongnan knew there was no point pushing further. He had no choice but to accept it. Chi Zhao. This kid's pretty interesting. Special module, anchor point rewind, huh? Wang nodded and murmured, I doubt that's the only special module he has. Both of them were stunned at his words. Ordinary people having even one special module was already extremely rare. Chi Zhao had more than one? Why would Wang say that? Jongnan and Dong Heizui were both sharp, they figured it out quickly. Chapter 237, Give Young People More Opportunities. Chi Zhao's train was incredibly dry and comfortable, so much so that it made you almost forget the current season. It was the rainy season right now. For a train to maintain this kind of condition, it definitely wasn't something simple like air conditioning or a dehumidifier. Both of them were chiefs, so naturally, they were well informed. The answer came to them instantly. A special module acting like a rookie. Acting like a rookie allowed the train to stay in a constant temperature and humidity environment forever. Whether summer, winter, or the rainy season, none of it mattered. Wang saw the expressions on their faces and knew they'd figured it out. He immediately spoke up, I think this Qizhao isn't bad. Let him give it a try. Young people deserve more chances. Wang. Zhang Nan still wanted to fight for it, but Wang waved his hand. That's enough, let's go with this. After that, he turned to Dong Haizui, I won't bother informing Elsa. Just let her know. Tell her I'm good with it. The ranks in the capture unit go, from bottom to top, preliminary candidates, squad members, vice captains, and the 12 division captains. Above them were the deputy chiefs and then the chief. To become captain of one of the 12 divisions of the capture unit, it required Wang's personal approval. The role ranked a notch above others at the same level in different departments. Being made a captain meant a future path toward promotion to deputy chief or even chief. Because every chief came up through this exact path. Without exception. It was a mandatory milestone, a career credential. Got it, Wang? Dong Haizui responded with a smile. Alright then, I'll leave things here to you. I've got other matters. With that, Wang waved his hand and disappeared on the spot with Zhang Nan. Once they were gone, Dong Haizui looked behind her at the door to the next train car. Zai was pressed against the door, ear to it, eavesdropping. The moment Wang and his group appeared, Lao Yu had sensed them right away. But Zai had stopped Lao Yu from barging in, so the two of them just crouched at the door, eavesdropping. So those big shots were from orderly heaven. Wang, the leader of order? TSK, Qizhao really knew how to kiss ass. Wait, he actually knew a wanted criminal? Hold on, were these people here to settle old scores? So that little Taoist girl's name was Wu Yu. Why was there suddenly another woman's voice? A special module anchor point rewind? So the reason Qizhao could suddenly return to the train was because of a special module. Since Zai was always lurking in group chats, she naturally had a rough idea of how anchor point rewind worked. Not just one special module. Wang's pretty sharp. How'd he know Qizhao had station forecast too? Right. Damn, just how many special modules does this guy have? Wait, something's off. How'd he suddenly become a captain? Is this plot going the right way? No more sound? They left? Zai looked down and poked Lao Yu in the head. Then pointed at the door, signaling him to go check it out. Just then, the train door was pulled open. Zai, who had been eavesdropping behind the door, fell flat on her back. Sorry. We weren't trying to listen in on purpose. Zai quickly got up and apologized. Lao Yu stood still, fists clenched, facing Dong Haizui with no sign of fear. The conductor's a good man. He wouldn't be involved with a wanted criminal. Zai. Dong Haizui swept her eyes over them, her gaze pausing briefly on Lao Yu, Zai, and Li Huizi. Seeing them, Dong Haizui understood everything. She already knew why Qizhao used anchor point rewind to escape at the last moment. Because his people were here. He had done it to protect his people. That made Dong Haizui see him in a new light. Her opinion of him rose even further. Protecting others was a rare virtue. I'm Qizhao's superior. You can call me Dong Haizui. Which one of you is going to call him back? I have something to tell him. With that, Dong Haizui shut the door. She took off her torn kapao and pulled out a new one from her portable storage item to change into. By the time Qizhao returned, she had already changed. Chief Dong Haizui, here's your water. Qizhao handed over the waters I had just fetched. Dong Haizui took the cup and drank it down in one gulp. She looked towards Ai, who was walking away, and asked, they're all conductors? Ah, yes. Qizhao nodded. That kid isn't though. Dong Haizui chuckled, alright, let's talk business. How do you know Wu Yu? Qizhao then repeated the whole story of how he met Wu Yu, exactly the same as what he told Wang and the others, holding nothing back. Dong Haizui nodded when he finished, and her next words rocked Qizhao to the core. You've heard of the Freedom Organization, I'm sure. Wu Yu is their leader. Wu Yu was the leader of the Freedom Organization? Kong Yu's boss? My boss? Fuck, no wonder Wang came to find me. Of course an ordinary wanted criminal wouldn't get this kind of treatment. No wonder Dong Haizui didn't fight him. Qizhao didn't try to hide his shock because frankly, he had every reason to be shocked. No wonder. No wonder Wang came to find me. Qizhao muttered. Dong Haizui nodded. That's not the point. Just like Wang said, we all understand you definitely didn't know Wu Yu's real identity. After all, this was his first official public appearance. There are probably plenty of people like you, who'll be just as shocked when they find out the truth. Qizhao nodded. Yeah. That chicken thief boss from Moonlight Alley would probably be the most dumbfounded. A petty thief turning out to be the Freedom Organization's leader, a figure even Orderly Heaven struggled with. But don't worry, this isn't a big deal. We came for another reason. The captain of this capture unit subdivision, Kingshan, was killed in battle this morning. I need someone to take his place. After saying this, Dong Heizui's beautiful eyes turned toward Chizhou. I recommended you to Wang. You're going to be the new captain of this subdivision. Hearing that, Chizhou stayed silent. Looks like the fighting elsewhere had been even more intense. A man popped into Chizhou's mind, the glasses-wearing, refined middle-aged man who had handled matters for him. Me, as captain? You. Even though you've kept some things from me, I understand why. Everyone has their secrets, it's no big deal. Special modules are powerful and rare. I get why you'd want to keep them under wraps. You're quick-witted, and I like that. Most importantly, you can fight. Defending this place was no small feat. You've earned that captain title. Chief Dong Heizui. What is it? Got concerns? I'm just a rookie with barely any experience. I've only been in the new world for less than a month. My level's not that high, I'm afraid others won't accept me. Dong Heizui burst into hearty laughter at Chi Zhao's concern. Ha ha ha. No need to beat around the bush with me.